Good and fair evening, my friends. Welcome back to the tavern. I am sorry I'm so late today. Uh, I didn't realize how late it was, and then two of our portals were unlinked from the software that lets us do the thing. So I've been struggling with that for the last 20 minutes. So I apologize. I did not mean to be as late as I am. Milo, thank you kindly for the resub. I appreciate that. Tips to the tavern keeper always appreciated. Frost, good evening, my friend. I'm glad you made it in. Marina, hello. Marina, I'm going to give you Spanish ladies tonight if you can stay with us long enough. Well, I'm not going to give you Spanish ladies. I'm going to sing Spanish. I don't have any Spanish ladies in stock, but I will sing Spanish ladies for you when we get there. Here we go. Raid horn for Matty. 3, 2, 1. Molly Sue, hello, welcome back. Wait, another Meowcat. Meowcat, you're from Matty's. I've seen you over in his chat. Let's go ahead and we'll give another toot. We'll go 3, 2, 1. Two raids in a row over in the Twitch portal. Nicely done, friends. Meowcat, hello and welcome in. So very glad you could join us. Ashley, hello, love. Good to see you. Welcome in. Frost, you said, I may be lurking a bit more than usual. Whatever you need to do, brother, I hope that just being here with the tavern folk can help you feel better. I'm driving, so I'll be here till the end. Well, then you shall have Spanish ladies, at least the song version of Spanish ladies. Erin, thank you for the drink. Appreciate you. It's quite warm here, too. I do have the air on, but it is quite warm. Esther, hello, hello. I hope you're doing well. I was up all night last night as my cat Stella kept me awake. Because the air conditioner was on, Stella dislikes it. Stella even playfully smacked me in the face. She is now sleeping. That is a hell of a thing, Esther, but I'm glad that you made it in. I'm sorry that you're tired, but I hopefully will help you relax. I don't that's good. Crystal, hello, welcome in. Who has heated floors in August? I suppose if you have heated floors, you have to have them all the time. But I don't know who would turn on their heated floors in August. That sounds terrible. Marina's also using the heater tonight, because she is a crazy lady, but that's alright. We love her anyways. That's alright, love. If you have to go to bed, you have to go to bed. That's okay. I am fudged. I'll give it a look, Frost. I appreciate you. Well, if it's long, I might just be able to look at it right now. If it's not long, I mean, obviously I won't air your business on stream. Okay. I appreciate you sharing that with us, Frost. I'm not gonna reveal anything too much But if you don't mind, I'll address it openly so you can hear me here if that's okay. Despite the summer-like weather, I've only recently turned on the air conditioning. My cat is asleep and does not seem to mind. Well, there you go. Bear, hello, my friend. Welcome in. Good to see you. Good to see everyone. I'm so very glad you could join us tonight. Sadly, there is a carryover from the 60s and 70s where the idea of being stoic sort of got bastardized in a way where we're sort of expected, especially a lot of men are expected. So my sister's getting divorced, so I bought her old motorcycle. Well, congratulations, Santana. Not on the divorce, but on the motorcycle. It is very important to be able to control your emotions. It is very important to be able to acknowledge your emotions. And Kelly, thank you for the rose over on TikTok. I appreciate you for that. Thank you kindly. Tips to the Tavern Keeper are always appreciated. He was a sack of crap. Well, then congratulations then. Congratulations across the board. That's all that's happening with me. I just want to go home. I call the parents of the creatures you're babysitting, Erin. Tell them you want to go home. It is an unfortunate aspect. Crystal, thank you for the stars, love. I appreciate you for that. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. We expect men, and now men expect themselves to be overly stoic, almost mechanical in a way. And it's this odd expectation because while it's important to control your emotions, it's important to be able to acknowledge and understand them. There is a weird societal pressure to pretend like they don't exist. And it's incredibly unhealthy. You have to be able to talk about things that cause you trouble. You have to be able to talk about things that hurt you. You have to be able to address things that cause you harm. Marina, thank you for the bits. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated, love. Thank you kindly. Castle, as you are aware, remains a positive and upbeat environment, characterized by lack of drama and a shared sense of view. And I agree. I can't do much about my given name, but I have a preference of being called Bear, please, folks. Yes. Did somebody... I'm assuming there's a part of a conversation I was missing pieces of. So what I will say, Frost, is that it's probably not a good thing to let that environment exist as it exists. I know that it's hard to change an environment like that has been like that for so long, where you have somebody who is... Because I've had my fair share of friends and family members. My sister is one of them. She loves to just dwell on the bad. She loves to sit and talk about the bad. Doesn't matter, like, she could have won the lottery, and she would have talked about how but my younger sister, she very literally, she could have won the lottery, and the story she would tell is about how she got a hangnail on the way to buy the ticket. Like, she could win $1 million, she could win $100 million, and the story that she would tell would be the story of how she stubbed her toe that morning before she went out to buy the ticket. Because she loves to dwell on the bad, she loves to dwell on the misery, she loves to dwell on everything that went wrong to get to that point. And there are some people that are just like that, but those people tend to be using the dopamine of complaining in place of fixing the things that are wrong. Pickle, hi, how you doing? Misery can be addictive. It can be. Because what we will do is we will often we will often replace the dopamine of accomplishing things with the dopamine of people worrying about us, right? The idea that we are worrying people is an addictive thing. When we talk about how bad we have it, we know people are going to worry about us because we know people care about us. And then those people become progressively more miserable because people then do not want to be around them. I think I already read that comment, Esther, but I'll reread it. Castle, as you're aware, uh, Castle remains a positive and upbeat environment characterized by a lack of drama and shared sense of humor. Correct, Esther. They need to go to bed and they've been fighting all day. You gotta give them a bedtime story, Eric. Just go give them. I'm not being serious for anyone who might think I am. Go give them a bedtime story, Aaron. Just a real quick bedtime story and send them off to sleep. But the reality, Frost, and I know that you're someone who likes to keep the peace. That's one thing that I've realized about you as you've gotten to be more prominent in the tavern community is that you're someone who likes to keep the peace. You like to preserve, the sanctity of spaces. You like to enjoy yourself, and you like to move forward without any animosity. But the reality is that when someone is like that, they're like that because they want to be. And the only thing that will make them stop, I made them watch Bob Burger's Good. The only thing that will make them stop is by actually telling them, like, hey, I can't handle you brooding. Like if we have a legitimate problem that can be solved, I'm more than happy to talk about the problem. I'm more than happy to talk about the problem and talk about a solution. But if we're going to keep revisiting the same terrible things over and over and over again, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it, and I frankly it's depressing for me to do it when the problem is past. There's nothing that we can do to change it, and dwelling on it is frustrating and discouraging. And that's a hard conversation to have, especially with somebody who is very close to you. Boundaries, absolutely no sense kicking a dead horse, right? Absolutely. All right, Esther. We're gonna get into stories here in a second. I wanted to address this question from Frost with a problem that he's having. I had that discussion with my friend on the way home from the zoo yesterday. With all five of our terrors at the end, I promise we did not. uh, Castle, okay, I read that one. Think we should go to bed. I read that one. How's your cough, Castle? I hope you're feeling better. I am indeed feeling better. Still have a little bit of a cough, and I'm still congested. The lady and I both have it. I don't know what it is. It's probably allergies. That's the only thing that I can think that it might be. I'm in a happy but tired mood. Those can be good. I got a cold today. I'm going to get Social Security, so Tenger's in booking Christmas for me. My sister Teresa has money earmarked for a trip to Alaska to see her. I told her I don't have the money. Well, that's fun though. If you're gonna eventually go, trip to Alaska could be fun. As a matter of fact, Jazz, who was joking up here earlier, um, Jazz actually took a trip to Alaska earlier this year. Actually, it was just a couple of months ago, and she said it was very lovely, but she was on a cruise, so she didn't get to do quite as much as she would have liked. But uh, I got you. Say, I'm sorry, Erin. I'm sorry. Uh, for a positive vibe, I'm half done with the first round of edits on my book. Very good. I do apologize for that, Erin. When we're all in this close of proximity, it'll happen. There's not much that can be done. Castle, well, Elsie told me to tell you just have a nice warm cup of tea and honey. That what I did last night. It's too hot for me to have tea right now. I would probably burst into flame. Uh, Erin, it's almost 11 now. I personally can't do them. Makes me feel claustrophobic, but I've heard that they're great for kids. Thank you, Castle. We can keep discussing this more later. Please don't take up story time with this. I will continue to work on things in the guild. That's all right, brother. That's all right. I think it's an important lesson for everybody. I don't think that it's just you. Ashley from over on TikTok sends a hug, though. Frost. Alaska's on my bucket list. Fly fishing. I've been to Juneau, Alaska, or just outside Juneau, Alaska. It's very pretty. I love Alaska. If it were not so cut off from the world, that's where we would build the tavern, would be in Alaska. The lady and I both like the environment there. But it's so cut off from everything, it would make it impossible for other people to get there. Frost says, thank you, Ashley, love. This is where I vent and complain. Well, and it's good to have a group that you can vent in and work on solutions with, because we live in an era where people really just want to complain and they don't want to come to a solution. And it's a major problem. Jazz, see, Jazz says she wants to go back and spend more time on the land. And a big manly hug from me, Frost. Also, thank you to Una. Her help means the world to me. She's been enjoying working with you, Matty. I would be delighted to visit Alaska to photograph polar bears. Alaska is beautiful. I just rant at the back of my husband's head until I figure out the problem. It's a bit annoying because he kind of expects me to drive his kids. I try not to. Yeah, again, you have to draw boundaries, Aaron. It's one of the things we're talking about. Is that you have to let people know what is going on with you, and it doesn't mean you need to complain. You should always offer a constructive solution. You should always offer a solution, and some people still won't take that well, and it's very uncomfortable to do. But you cannot allow your environment to be hostile if it's where you have to live. If you are living in a hostile, and I don't necessarily mean violent, you can live in a hostile environment where the hostility is just that everybody around you is really depressing, and they do nothing to try and make their lives better. That's a terrible environment to live in. You don't want to live in that. So, as uncomfortable as it is, it's an important boundary, but also, one, you have to acknowledge your feelings. You have to be willing to work on them, and especially as a man, you have to be very, very responsible with how you outlet your feelings. Because I know that modern day has put less of an emphasis on the strength difference between men and women and men and children, but all the men there are a lot of older men in here, know that you have to, even if you're just wrestling with somebody, you have to pull your punches all the way across the board, because you can very easily hurt people. And when you lose control of your emotions, it's very easy to hurt people, and a lot of men are afraid of doing that. But that means you also have to have a constructive and regular outlet for those emotions that is healthy, and the people around you have to also be a part of that. Ritty Reeds, thank you for the heart, mate. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. Thank you kindly. That's how the Arctic and Antarctic got their names, the bears and lack thereof. Oh, I think I did know that. Maybe. You may have just taught me something, Bear, or taught me something that I forgot. But I'm not sure that I knew that. I'm using my book as my outlet. As many writers do, Matty. That's why I step back and just take a few moments before I... And yeah, that's the exact thing you should do, Frost. Is when you have something where you are really upset, you have to step back and breathe. Video games can be a good outlet. Now, if you start playing video games all the time as an escape, then it becomes a problem. It's like a lot of people will read as well. Like, a lot of people think that reading is a more constructive hobby. And in a way it is, because reading is definitely better for your brain. But when you just like, oh, I'm just going to put my head into a book rather than deal with my problems, that's a major issue. That you're going to end up burning a lot of the bridges in your life to do that. King Charles III sent me to collect the beard tax pay-up. I don't have a beard. I wouldn't know what to do there, Stephen. But it's the same thing with video games. Like, video games are a great outlet because you can blow things up, you can fight. I love Soulsborne games for the story. I love getting into a good story and doing something that's really difficult and accomplishing a thing. But if you're spending, 6 to 12 hours a day on video games, then it's become an escape from the problem rather than just it's a way of avoiding the problem rather than dealing with it. I made $100 tonight though. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, Erin. Can't wig at that. Axe throwing is a big thing here. You go there, they teach you how to do it, and you throw. There are a couple of places that you throw dishes and things. Yeah, rage rooms, I think, are what they're called. Maybe not necessarily a rage room, but yeah, those different things. I tend to make dough. Kneading can get a lot. Yeah, the boy and I we like to do boxing. We have boxing bags at our gym. And I like to go walk. Like, if I get really frustrated, I'll go out and I'll walk really, really fast. Like, not running, because running, I get tired, and if I get tired, I'll get a little bit more frustrated. But I'll walk really, really quickly around the block, and I've gotten to a point where I can do, like, I can walk a mile in, like, 7 minutes. Oh, I'd love to go to a rage rooms are fun. I don't like them because I don't like the idea of breaking things that are useful. I don't know. I have an issue with it, but they are fun. They are fun. Matty, you're king. You're the Goblin King. Yep, Matty is the Goblin King. That's true. Been to a rage room. Nothing was left when I was done. See, for us, that means you have things you have to get settled out. Kitty, hello. We missed you too. I'm glad you made it back. The door opened when you needed it. Okay, and I'm done rambling for now. Let's go ahead and get into the story. We're actually on an incredibly important chapter. I think we're on the second to last chapter for Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I got great ideas. I probably won't. We should do a tavern rage room. We'll have. We actually have something better than a rage room. When the tavern is built, we'll have tavern festivals, and festivals have festival games, and festival games are a great way to get out that pent-up energy. Big Ed, hello my friend, welcome in, so very glad you could join us. You'll never need a rage room again after you've participated in a real Lunessa festival. You need my we actually, I don't have any tankards in stock. We have similar ones. So this is the one that the lady got for me. She had a company make it. And it's got because my family, we have a lot of iconography around trees. So this one has a Celtic tree of life. And then over here we have the Yggdrasil depiction. And you can tell it's Yggdrasil because it has the cosmos hanging from its branches. And then we have a tale about one of my ancestors who was transformed into a sea dragon. So she had this one made for me. But we do get ones that have tree iconography on them that we usually sell in the tavern shop. But we're out of stock right now. Sometimes I just sing really loud. That's a good way to do it too. Oh, we could take out the Lord thingy. I still giggle at that. Working on my book, so I didn't come in tonight, Matty. Oh, you're talking to Matty, okay. Sweet Mog, where did you get it? Spectre King. I wasn't answering you, I was answering someone else, but did you hear the explanation, or no? I'm going to run ads for you guys over on Twitch, so we're not interrupted, and as soon as those ads are done, we'll get started with Storytime. Well, Spectre, did you hear my description, or no? No, thank you for the roses. Tips to the Tavern Keeper are always appreciated. Thank you kindly for that. Hang on a second. Alright. Nope, didn't want to do that. I'm the best. Well, that's overly flattering. I appreciate you for that. I'm maybe in the top 3. I don't know if the best would be the way I would describe me, but I'm ready to be lulled to sleep. Alright, let's do it. I'm so excited I want my bed. Go, Erin, run! Run to your bed. Run to it. Wait, what's the line from One More Pull? And when we've fixed those bow and stern lines, and you've scuttled down the gangway. If Erin's bed is waiting there, just kiss it. Turn around, give us a smile. I took a nap earlier accidentally, and now I'm fighting to stay awake. Yes, ready for a good story. Alright, let's see. We've got 1 minute 30 seconds, and then we will begin. Erin is gonna go home and make out with a bed. You both make my dreams magical. Oh, you flatter me. Kitty, I appreciate you saying so. Oh, Ashley, stop. You all flatter me. I will admit that I am pretty good. I'm pretty good. But, you know, there's probably other guys that are pretty... I hear that Shakespeare guy was supposedly pretty good at his job. You probably shouldn't do that, but it's your bed, so do whatever you want. I will. I love sleep. Your ancestor was a dragon, the voice is a dead giveaway. So we do, yeah, we have a family folklore of an ancestor of mine who, him and his brother both were transformed into dragons as a punishment. His brother transformed himself into a dragon and was cursed to stay that way, sort of like the Fafnir story, where Fafnir transformed himself into a dragon and then his greed cursed him to stay that way. But this ancestor, he transformed himself into a dragon and used it to steal from the people of Ireland. And because his brother did nothing to stop him, he was cursed to be a sea dragon. And his sloth made it so that whenever he came up from the water and yawned, all the people on the coast of Ireland would fall asleep, so no one could ever speak to him or help him, because anytime he came out of the water, he would put people to sleep. Are you guys just trying to drown me over here? Thank you for the hydrate, Erin. I appreciate you. I'm just here to rouse Castle, really. I mean, it's all right. That's what you're here for. You're a barkeep. Kitty, thank you for the heart. Me, the tips to the tavern keeper are always appreciated. Thank you very much. I sent 1. I made Matty do 10. I'd probably drown if you made me do 10 right now. Heart it out. Thank you kindly, Kitty. Appreciate you. It's literally in my job. It is in your job description. That's correct. All right, kids. Let us begin. Everybody settle down. Sit. Fill your tankards. It is time for stories. Now, we are very quickly creeping up on the end of this book. We did hold a vote over in the tavern, and almost in a complete landslide, our next family-friendly book is going to be Harry Potter Book 7. A lot of chatting going on. I'm just sitting here in the background. That's all right, Esther. To be fair, most of the chatting is from Matty and Erin. Almost nobody else is chatting. It's not unusual for Matty, but it is unusual for Erin. Yeah, they are quite beloved, but Book 7 was voted in, and the next book that we're going to be doing for the adult books, which we now do only on Tuesday, is the next book in Raymond E. Feist's Rift War Saga, which I believe is called a Darkness in Sethenon, I believe. Perhaps. Yes, A Darkness at Sethenon. Wow, that's crazy. When was this book printed? This is a very old. This is a very old paperback. Wow. This paperback was published back in the 1980s. 1985 was the earliest printing of it. Look at how cheap. I don't even know if you guys will be able to see that, but look at how cheap the books were in paperback back then. Wow. You could get every book in this series in paperback, in mass market paperback. You could get every single one of them for $16. $16 for the entire series in paperback. Just so, hang on. Let me show you how big the first two books are. This is the size of the first two books. This is the first two books. You could get these and this and the fourth book for $16. That's wild, Bear. $16 would not get you 3 chapters, right? $16 can get you the Kindle edition of half of a book. For a whole 0.002 seconds, I wasn't sure you were wearing pants. They're khaki. Yeah, they are. They are flesh toned. That's certain. Yeah, like that. You could get all 4 books for what you pay for. That's less than what you pay for one now. That's insane. That's the thing, though. I'm not really that easy to entertain. Like, it takes a lot to shock me, but I hadn't thought about how much the price of books have gone up in recent years. But yeah, it's insane. I bought my first copy for 10. Bear said so. Not that old. I mean, Bear, we may not want to imagine it, but 1985 was 40 years ago. That's more than a generation old. Oh, Magician. I bought Magician. Oh, you're right. It's so good. So good, Aaron. I guess I shouldn't say what I paid for all 4 Eragon hardbacks. No, please do tell, Frost. Are you talking about recently, or are you talking about... Thanks for that. I'm not even like... Look, guys, I'm getting old too, alright? We're all getting old. I think we just need to age gracefully and accept the fact that we're all wizened old witches and wizards in our towers, reading old stories and screaming at the kids to get off of our lawn. Yep, used. I got them for $9. Oh, that's amazing. See, this is what... I gotta love used bookstores. You gotta love used bookstores. Books are expensive in Australia. Yes, they are. You guys pay almost twice for just for this little book. For this little festivals book that me and the lady wrote that have to do with our the festivals of my clan, my family back home, and how we celebrate them. This is 80 pages, and it's softcover, but this is almost 40% more in Australia than it is in the United States. $1985 was 40 years ago. Yes, indeed it was. We're all old. That's the thing. We're all old. Yeah, we sell it. The print sells for $8 in the US, and the print version of it sells for I think 15 or 16 Australian dollars. And that was we lowered the price for it. You didn't, Bear. I knew you were going to when I brought it up, so I jumped ahead of you on that one. The 80s were not that far away. It's wild though, because when I say 10 years ago, if I say 10 years ago, what date do you think of when someone says 10 years ago? Did you ever read The Chronicles of Prydain by Lloyd Alexander? I did not, Nev. Aloha from Hawaii, Klein. Very good to see you. Welcome in. Right. If I say 10 years ago, you think that's 2000s, 2010, 2000s, 2010. I still think, when I think 10 years ago, I still think 90s. I still think 10 years ago was the 1990s. In my head, I know that's not true, and my bones tell me that it's not true, but when somebody says 10 years ago, I automatically think 1995, 1999, somewhere in there. 10 years ago was 2015. Right, which is crazy to think. Because 10 years ago was not 2015, Erin. 10 years ago was 2005 for most of us. I think Obama and broken. Oh. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to think. I keep getting reminders in my high school reunion. I can't think 80s were 10 years ago. uh, I turned 53 and I still feel young. Yeah, you know what? But that's the thing. We're all a bunch of young oldies. That's the deal. Time is crazy. It just goes and goes and goes, doesn't it? Doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't stop for you. The 1970s and 1980s were a more positive era, where people generally considered to have been more virtuous. And there was this little glory era in the 1980s all the way up until about 2005. And then the world markets crashed, and then we lost all of that beautiful glory that we had. We need to try and build another era like that, right? Where everything's amazing, all of the toys on the shelf are incredible, you can buy crazy products. Like they had flying cars in the 80s. They didn't work, but they had flying cars on the market in the 80s. "31, my humor is 12, my body thinks I died in Greco-Roman Persia." Oh, Greco-Persian Wars. My bones are creaking now. Erin is a baby, that's right. Erin is the baby. Computers and internet took... I don't know that it was necessarily computers and the internet. I think that it was that so much of the world pushed us away from public spaces. Because there's that thing of the third space, right? Where we all, like, when you in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, you had the malls and skate parks and arcades and things like that. And all of those things became so commodified that they became too expensive for people to do. So kids started having to stay home. And the reason why the internet took off, I don't think that those things died because of the internet. I think that the internet took off because those things died. I'm 31 and yet people say I have the soul of an 80-year-old. My mother laughs that I have a grey in my beard. It's one of those things, right? I remember pagers and cordless phones, right? Oh. Does anybody else remember gigapets? I know I promised I'd read, but I love this conversation. Does anybody remember gigapets? Not Tamagotchis, but actual gigapets. That's one of my favorite things from the 90s. I miss box TVs and bunny ears, yes. Shikara, yes, yeah, see? Like, there were so many great things. Yeah, and Dinky Dinos, oh. Gosh. Let's all build a time machine, go back to the 90s. I had both a gigapet and a Tamagotchi. Right, God. So many good things. So many good things. Also had both, right? I do remember gigapets, I never had them. I want to go with you all back to the past. Can you imagine this crew at a mall or an arcade? All of us just wrecking out at a skate park, then going to get pizza afterwards. Can you guys imagine? This fine group of specimens. I still think I have a boombox that plays cassettes. We can spend our adult money now, right? Castle, we grew up in the 70s and 80s, time before computers and internet. To come to hit with a friend, you had to ride our bicycles. Right, yeah, absolutely. But even when the internet became a thing, kids still went out and went to the mall and went to skate parks. But because skate parks and arcades and malls died and became so expensive, I think that was what led to the internet becoming as successful as it was. I don't think that the internet killed those things. I think that those things dying created the internet. Bush parties I used to go to, that would be hilarious, right? I have a portable cassette player we could use. Bop It. Here comes Matty with a good one. Bop It. Bop It was more like the late 90s, early 2000s, but yeah. Drinking out of the hose and water balloons fights, my IBM computer, and I actually have a Commodore 64 upstairs in the closet with all of its components. Maddie would want pineapple on his pizza, you know. Oh, yeah, I know, I know. A heck of a thing. Heck of a thing. Alright, alright. I slip inside, but not the one from the store. Yeah, so I used to visit skate parks and surf arcades back in the city. Yeah. And from like the 70s, late 60s, all the way up until probably about 2005, that's what people did. We had those third spaces. We had a place where we could go and meet with our friends, meet with people. Now, I never did a lot of those things, because I grew up in a much more structured background. But those things were where we met, where we all got together, where we found friends and where we kept friends. Skate park near our house. I'm so excited to get my kids. Too, they are afraid of it. Right, there's so much that can be done. So much that can be done. I remember my first Korn cassette tape. I missed them so bad. You know, and a lot of people say that you romanticize the past. The 80s through the early 2000s are well worth romanticizing because they were very romantic. Now, were there bad things that happened? Yes, there's bad things that happen in every era of every kingdom that ever existed. You can't get around that, all right? Just stop being a downer. Stop trying to piss on everyone's parade. There are bad things everywhere. The bad things have always happened. If you want bad things not to happen, I don't know. Live in a virtual reality world. Whatever you want to do. But the reality is that those eras were an incredible time of prosperity, especially if you lived in the US. Like the US was insane during the 80s to the early 2000s. And most places in the world, especially a lot of Western countries, had incredible stuff. Skateboards were inexpensive to purchase in the 70s, but are now considered... skateboards are very expensive now. Very expensive now, Esther. But yeah, and that's the thing, is that those things were more affordable back then, even in contrast. Even in contrast. Those things were cheaper. Like, you could spend a whole day at an arcade back in 1995, and I know because I used to do arcade tournaments for fighting games when I was a young man, or a young boy, I should say. You could spend a whole day in an arcade for $5. $5 you could, and that was a lot. Like, that was eating snacks, that was playing games, that was having drinks. That was a whole day in an arcade for $5. Goosebump books too, yes. So it's funny, we were talking about that a while back, and I've started writing a Goosebump-like series. I don't know if I'll publish it, but we started writing a Goosebump-like series because of the nostalgia. They don't publish stuff like Goosebumps anymore. So we made our own skateboards and billy carts. Yeah, 25-cent campsites. Okay, dollar movie tickets. Dollar movie tickets. But way back in the day. Green Rider Thestro Patronus. Hello and welcome in. Okay, I'm gonna get reading. Because I could be on this subject all night. So let's at least get a chapter out of the way. We're 45 minutes in. Alright. Thestro Patronus, welcome. I'm gonna call you Thestral. Grab a seat, settle in. We're about to start chapter 27. The lightning struck tower. Oh, yeah, by the way, if any of you have not seen K-Pop Demon Hunters on Netflix, I strongly recommend you go do it, and then you can go watch the video that the lady and I made about all the beautiful, interesting Korean cultural references in the movie. And the theaters, I think this weekend and next weekend, they're doing theater premieres of it, and it would be well worth it to go. It's a movie that is well worth supporting. They did brilliantly with the storytelling. Whole families at drive-ins? Yeah, Bear, that's insane. It's so good, Dave. It's so good. I unashamedly, it is beautiful. My daughter's hooked me on it now. The music is great, the storytelling is wonderful, and there's a bunch of beautiful lore and history and cultural references in the movie. Well worth hiding. Hiding in the trunk, right, Jazz? All the songs, all day long, take down Soda Pop, right? My favorite book series was from TSR, the Dungeons and Dragon Pick Your Own Path book series. Yes, Thomas, that was a long time ago, but yes, those were also very good. The drive-in is where the drive-in here is. I, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on Twitch and TikTok, so I'm bullshit. No, sorry, but no, they definitely are. Definitely, all of these things are. Love the movie Rajas. It was so good. Castle, I'll be your idol. Half price movies on Tuesdays, also known as Tuesdays. Riding home from the bar with people in. With 8 people in a 5-seater, right, Nilu? Yeah, that was the 80s and 90s for you. The one near us plays the adults movies first, kids later, and caught the full car price. Oh, I see, I see. From back in the 70s and early 80s. Were the Dungeons and Dragons books that old? When did Dungeons and God, see that all of these things are making me realize how old we all are. I'm not sure. No, yeah, they weren't that old. Well, they might have been. The ones that I'm thinking of came out in the 80s, Thomas. There might have been some before that, but the ones that I was thinking of came out in the 80s. Yeah, that's what you said, early 80s. So yeah. That's correct. Castle 3, Dungeons and Dragons, Adult Adventure Magazines UK, r/Dungeons and Dragons. The Dungeons and Dragons D&D rule books debuted in 1974 with the original D&D box set. A periodical featuring game related started in 1976. Adventure Magazine started it. Your idol actually helped me construct Sunrio's backstory. Interesting, Matty. I'm 54. Kristalla, hello! Good to see you. Nate, hello, welcome in. We're old, brother, just accept it and love ourselves. Yeah, well, you should love yourself no matter how old you are. Okay, alright. Stories, friends. Settle in, fill your mugs. And hold that. Alright, we're good. Chapter 27. The Lightning Struck Tower. Once back under the starry sky. So when we left off, just so everyone is aware, when we left off, Harry and Dumbledore had just left the cave where Dumbledore had to drink the potion in order to retrieve the Horcrux from within it, and they were assaulted by Inferi on the end of that. It's good to be back from that rock I hide under every so often, and we're glad to have you back. You'll see that your regular seat is still available. Grab it and fill your cup. And Harry was dragging Dumbledore out at the end of the last chapter. And now we start with them going back out into the world. Once back under the starry sky, Harry heaved Dumbledore onto the top of the nearest boulder and then to his feet. Sodden and shivering, Dumbledore's weight still upon him, Harry concentrated harder than he had ever done upon his destination, Hogsmeade. Closing his eyes, gripping Dumbledore's arm as tightly as he could, he stepped forward into that feeling of horrible compression. He knew it had worked before he opened his eyes. The smell of salt, the sea breeze had gone. He and Dumbledore were shivering and dripping in the middle of the high street in Hogsmeade. For one horrible moment, Harry's imagination showed him Maud and Fury creeping toward him around the sides of the shops. But he blinked and saw that nothing was stirring. All was still, the darkness complete, but for a few street lamps and a lit upper window. "We did it, Professor," Harry whispered with difficulty. He suddenly realized that he had a searing itch in his chest. "We did it. We got the Horcrux." Dumbledore staggered against him. For a moment, Harry thought his inexpert apparition had thrown Dumbledore off balance. Then he saw his face, paler and damper than ever in the distant light of a street lamp.
Sir, are you all right?
I have been better, said Dumbledore weakly, though the corners of his mouth twitched. That potion was no health drink. And to Harry's horror, Dumbledore sank to the ground. Thomas, thank you for the stars, my friend. Enjoy your breed's blessing there. Tips to the tavern keeper always appreciated. Thank you kindly. Honestly, love this book. Is my favorite. I realized that a lot of people said that this one was their favorite. I thought that the third was the resounding favorite, but it turns out a lot of people really like Half-Blood Prince. But Thomas, thank you for the tips, my friend. They are deeply appreciated. Nate, thank you for the heart me. Kitty, thank you for the banana and the music on stage. Tips to the tavern keeper are deeply appreciated, friends. See, Matty says his favorite is Deathly Hollows. Alright, where were we?
Sir, it's okay. Sir, you're going to be all right, don't worry.
He looked around desperately for help, but there was nobody to be seen, and all he could think was how he must somehow get Dumbledore quickly to the hospital wing.
We need to get you up to the school, sir. Madam Pomfrey.
No, said Dumbledore. It is Professor Snape whom I need. But I do not think I can walk very far just yet.
Right, sir. Listen. I'm going to go knock on a door. Find you a place you can stay. And then I can run and get Madam...
Severus, said Dumbledore clearly. I need Severus.
All right then, Snape. But I'm going to have to leave you for a moment so I can.
Before Harry could make a move, however, he heard running footsteps. His heart leapt. Somebody had seen, somebody knew they needed help. Looking around, he saw Madame Rosmerta scurrying down the dark street towards them on a high-heeled fluffy slippers, wearing a silk dressing gown embroidered with dragons.
I saw you apparate as I was pulling on my bedroom curtains. Thank goodness. I couldn't think what to... But what's wrong with Albus?
She came to a halt, panting and staring down, wide-eyed at Dumbledore.
He's hurt,
said Harry.
Madame Rosmerta, can he come into the Three Broomsticks while I go up to the school and get help for him? You can't go up there alone. Don't you realise? Haven't you seen? If you help me support him, said Harry, not listening to her, I think we can get him inside.
What has happened? No, asked Dumbledore. What's the matter? What's wrong?
It's the dark mark, Albus.
And she pointed into the sky in the direction of Hogwarts. Dread flooded Harry, and at the sound of words, he turned and looked. There it was, hanging in the sky above the school, blazing green skull with a serpent tongue. The mark Death Eaters left behind whenever they entered a building, wherever they had murdered. When did it appear? Asked Dumbledore, and his hand clenched painfully on Harry's shoulder as he struggled to his feet.
Must have been minutes ago. It wasn't there when I put the cat out, but when I got upstairs.
We need to return to the castle at once, said Dumbledore. What's the matter? And though he staggered a little, he seemed wholly in command of the situation. We need transport, brooms.
I've got a couple behind the bar,
she said, looking very frightened.
Shall I run and fetch?
No, Harry can do it. Harry raised his wand at once.
Accio Rosmerta's brooms.
A second later, he heard a loud bang as the front door of the pub burst open. Two brooms had shot into the street and were racing each other to Harry's side, where they dropped dead and quivering slightly at waist height. What's the matter? Please send a message to the Ministry, said Dumbledore as he mounted the broom nearest to him. Might be that nobody within Hogwarts has yet realized anything is wrong. Harry, put on your invisibility cloak. Harry pulled his cloak out of his pocket and threw it over himself before mounting his broom. Madame Rosmerta was already tottering back up to her pub, as Harry and Dumbledore kicked off from the ground and rose up into the air. As they sped towards the castle, Harry glanced sideways at Dumbledore, ready to grab him should he fall. But the sight of the dark mark seemed to have acted upon Dumbledore like a stimulant. He was bent low over his broom, his eyes fixed upon the mark, his long silver beard and hair flying behind him in the night air. And Harry too looked ahead at the skull, and fear swelled inside him like a venomous bubble, compressing his lungs, driving all other discomfort from his mind. How long had they been away? Had Ron, Hermione, and Ginny run out by now? Was it one of them who had caused the mark to be set over the school? Was it Neville? Or was it Luna? Or some other member of the DA? And if it was, he was the one who had told them to patrol the corridors. He had asked them to leave the safety of their beds. Would he be responsible again for the death of a friend? Badger raid? Oh, it's someone raiding. Yes, indeed, we did. Arthur Christie, hello and welcome in. Let me get you a toot on the raid horn. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Ashley, hello, welcome. It's good to see you. Christy, welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope that you all had a wonderful stream tonight. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. First me and one of my... Yep, we've had 3 raids into the tavern tonight. All the Viking raspberries. It is a night of a great many Viking raspberries indeed. But welcome, friends. Settle in. For all of the folk who are new or who have not been here before, I am Castle. This is my tavern. And here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore. And every now and again I read you all a bedtime story. Tonight we are in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. We're very far in. We are a few pages into chapter 27, and we will be doing songs in a little bit after the chapter is done, and then we may try and get one more chapter in tonight. But welcome in, everyone. You have stumbled into a tavern at the end of the world, where all stories eventually come to rest. And you found your way here because you sought a story, and the portals opened for you. So grab a seat, fill a tankard, and join us. I was going to raid in, then Middle came and left really fast and just jumped to the page of the most active chatter I knew that I followed. Oh, very good, Milu. That's alright. I appreciate you. Oh, speaking of rest, I need to raid and run. I did a 4-hour stream tonight. Yeah, that means you are quite tired. Go ahead and send yourself off to bed. I appreciate you for bringing your folk over to the tavern. I'll make sure that they're well taken care of. The barkeeps will make sure they're well fed and well watered. You get off to some sleep. We appreciate you for the raid. Have a wonderful rest of your night, and may you rise tomorrow, ready to conquer the day. We'll take care of them as well as we can. Alright, where were we? As they flew over the dark, twisting lane down which they had walked earlier, Harry heard over the whistling of the night air in his ears Dumbledore muttering in some strange language. He thought he understood why he felt his broom stutter when they flew over the boundary of the walls of the grounds. Dumbledore was undoing the enchantment he himself had set around the castle, so they could enter at speed. The dark mark was glittering directly above the astronomy tower, the highest of the castle. Did that mean that death had occurred there? Dumbledore had already crossed the Crenellate rampart and was dismounting. Harry landed next to him seconds later and looked around. The ramparts were deserted. The door to the spiral staircase that led back into the castle was closed. There was no sign of a struggle, of a fight, to the death of a body. What does it mean? Harry asked Dumbledore, looking up at the green skull with its serpent tongue glinting evilly above them. Is it the real mark? Has somebody definitely been... Professor? In dim green glow from the mark, Harry saw Dumbledore clutching his chest with his blackened hand. Go and wake Severus, said Dumbledore faintly but clearly. Tell him what has happened. Bring him to me. Nothing else. Speak to nobody else. Do not remove your cloak. I shall wait here. But you swore to obey me, Harry. Go. Harry hurried over the door leading to the spiral staircase, but his hand had only just closed upon the iron ring of the door, when he heard running footsteps on the other side. He looked around at Dumbledore, who gestured him to retreat, and he backed away, drawing his wand as he did so. The door burst open, and somebody erupted through it and shouted, "Expelliarmus!" Harry's body became instantly rigid and immobile, and he felt himself fall backwards against the tower wall, propped up like an unsteady statue, unable to move or speak. He could not understand how it had happened. Expelliarmus was not a freezing jar. Then, by the light of the mark, he saw Dumbledore's wand flying in an arc over the edge of the ramparts, and understood. Dumbledore had wordlessly immobilized Harry. The second he had taken to perform the spell had cost him the chance of defending himself. Standing against the ramparts, very white in the face, Dumbledore still showed no signs of panic or distress. He merely looked across at his disarmer and said, "Good evening, Draco." Malfoy stepped forward, glancing around quickly to check that he and Dumbledore were alone. His eyes fell upon the second broom.
Who else is here?
Question I might ask you. Or are you acting alone? Harry saw Malfoy's pale eyes shift back to Dumbledore in the greenish glare of the mark.
No,
he said.
I've got backup. There are Death Eaters in your school tonight.
Well, said Dumbledore, as though Malfoy was showing him an ambitious homework project. Very good indeed. You found a way to let them in, did you?
Yeah,
said Malfoy, who was panting.
Right under your nose, and you never realized.
Ingenious, said Dumbledore. Yet, forgive me, where are they now? You seem unsupported.
They met some of your guards and are having to fight down below. They won't be long. I came on ahead. I've got a job to do.
Well then, must get on with it. My dear boy, said Dumbledore softly. There was silence. Harry stood imprisoned within his own invisible paralyzed body, staring at the two of them, his ears straining to hear the sounds of the Death Eater's distant fight. And in front of him, Draco Malfoy did nothing but stare at Albus Dumbledore, who incredibly smiled. Draco, you are not a killer.
How do you know?
Said Malfoy at once. He seemed to realize how childish the words had sounded. Harry saw him flush in the mark's greenish light.
You don't know what I'm capable of, said Malfoy more forcefully. You don't know what I've done.
Yes, I do, said Dumbledore mildly. You almost killed Katie Bell and Ronald Weasley. You have been trying, with increased desperation, to kill me all year. Forgive me, Draco, but they have been feeble attempts. So feeble, to be honest, that I wondered whether your heart has really been in it.
It has been in it, said Malfoy vehemently. I've been working on it all year and tonight.
Somewhere in the depths of the castle below, Harry heard a muffled yell. Malfoy stiffened and glanced over his shoulder. Someone is putting up a good fight, said Dumbledore conversationally. But you say, yes, you have managed to introduce Death Eaters into my school, which I admit I thought impossible. How did you do it? But Malfoy said nothing. He was still listening to whatever was happening down below, and seemed almost paralyzed, as Harry was. TikTok almost tried to boot us off. Lyoko, hello, good to see you, welcome in. Troy, hello, welcome. My 5-year-old daughter loves the Harry Potter series. Her 4th birthday was Harry Potter themed. Absolutely wonderful. Well, I'm glad that you get to join us, even if I presume your 5-year-old daughter is in bed. Stephanie, hello, welcome in. Perhaps you ought to get the job done alone, suggested Dumbledore. What if your backup has been thwarted by my guard? As you have perhaps realized, there are members of the Order of the Phoenix here tonight too. And after all, I don't really need help. You don't really need help. I have no wand at the moment. I cannot defend myself. Malfoy merely stared at him. I see, said Dumbledore kindly, and Malfoy neither moved nor spoke. You're afraid to act until they join you. I'm not afraid, snarled Malfoy, though he still made no move to hurt Dumbledore. It's you who should be scared. But why? I don't think you want to kill me, Draco. Killing is not nearly as easy as the innocent believe. So tell me, while we wait for your friends, how did you smuggle them in here? Seems to have taken you a long time to work out how to do it. Malfoy looked as though he was fighting down the urge to shout or to vomit. He gulped and took several deep breaths, glaring at Dumbledore, his wand pointing directly at the latter's heart. Then, as though he could not help himself, he said, I had to mend the broken vanishing cabinet that no one's used in years. The one that Montague lost last year. Ah! Dumbledore's sigh was a half-groan. He closed his eyes for a moment. That was clever. There is a pair, I take it. In Borgin and Burke's, said Malfoy. And they make kind of a passage between them. Montague told me that when he was stuck in Hogwarts, he was trapped in limbo, but sometimes he could hear what was going on at school, and sometimes what was going on in the shop, as if the cabinet was travelling between them. But he couldn't make anyone hear him. In the end, he managed to apparate out, even though he'd never passed his test. He nearly died doing it. Everyone thought it was a really good story, but I was the only one who realized what it meant. Even Borgin didn't know. I was the one who realized there could be a way into Hogwarts through the cabinet, even if I fixed... especially if I fixed the broken one. Very good, murmured Dumbledore. So the Death Eaters were able to pass from Borgin and Burke's into the school with your help, and the help of your clever plan. A very clever plan, as you say, right under my nose. Yeah, said Malfoy, who bizarrely seemed to draw courage and comfort from Dumbledore's praise. Yeah, it was. But there were times, Dumbledore went on, right there, when you were not sure you would succeed in mending the cabinet. When you resorted to crude, badly judged measures, such as sending me a cursed necklace that was bound to reach the wrong hand, poisoning mead. There was only the slightest chance I might drink. Yeah, well, you still didn't realize who was behind all that stuff, did you? Sneered Malfoy, as Dumbledore slid a little down the rampart, the strength of his leg apparently fading. And Harry struggled fruitlessly, mutely, against the enchantment binding him. As a matter of fact, I did, said Dumbledore. I was sure it was you. Why didn't you stop me then? Demanded Malfoy. I tried, Draco. Professor Snape has been keeping watch over you on my orders. He hasn't been doing your orders. He promised my mother. Of course, that is what he would tell you, Draco, but... He's a double agent, you stupid old man. He isn't working for you. You just think he is. We must agree to defer on that, Draco. So happens I trust Professor Snape Well, you're losing your grip then, sneered Malfoy. He's been offering me plenty of help, wanting all the glory for himself, wanting a bit of the action. What are you doing? Did you do the necklace? That was stupid. You could have blown everything. But I haven't told him what I've been doing in the Room of Requirement. He's going to wake up tomorrow and it'll all be over. And he won't be the Dark Lord's favourite anymore. He'll be nothing compared to me. Nothing! Very gratifying, said Dumbledore mildly. We all like the appreciation for our own hard work, of course. But you must have had an accomplice, all the same. Someone in Hogsmeade. Someone who was able to slip Katie the, Dumbledore closed his eyes again and nodded, as though he was about to fall asleep. Of course, Rosmerta. How long has she been under the Imperious curse? Got there last, have you? Malfoy taunted. There was another yell from below, rather louder than the last. Malfoy looked nervously over his shoulder, and back at Dumbledore, who went on. So poor Rosmerta was forced to lurk in her own bathroom, pass the necklace to any Hogwarts student who entered the room unaccompanied. And the poisoned mead, as naturally Rosmerta was able to poison it. Before she sent the bottle to Slughorn, believing that it was to be my Christmas present. Yes, very neat, very neat. Poor Mr. Filch. Have you been communicating? Poor Mr. Filch would not, of course, think to check a bottle of Rosmerta's. Tell me, how have you been communicating with Rosmerta? I thought we had all methods of communication. In and out of the school monitored. Enchanted coins, said Malfoy, as though he was compelled to keep talking, though his wand hand was shaking badly. I had one, and she had the other, and I could send her messages. Isn't that the secret method of communication? The group that called themselves Dumbledore's Army used last year? Asked Dumbledore. His voice was light and conversational, but Harry saw him slip an inch lower down the wall as he said it. Yeah, I got the idea from them, said Malfoy with a twisted smile. I got the idea of poisoning the mead from that mudblood Granger as well. I heard her talking in the library about Filch not recognizing potions. Please do not use that offensive word in front of me, said Dumbledore. Malfoy gave a harsh laugh. You care about me saying mudblood when I'm about to kill you? Yes, I do, said Dumbledore. And Harry saw his feet slide a little on the floor. He was struggling to remain upright. But as for being about to kill me, Draco, we've had several long minutes now. We're quite alone. I'm more defenseless than you could have dreamed of finding me. And still, you have not acted. Malfoy's mouth contorted involuntarily, as though he had tasted something very bitter. Now, about tonight, said Dumbledore as he went on. I'm a little puzzled about how it happened. You knew that I had left the school, but of course, he answered his own question. Samantha saw me leaving. She tipped you off, using your ingenious coins, I'm sure. That's right, said Malfoy. But she said you were just going for a drink and you'd be back. Well, I certainly did have a drink. Came back after the fashion, mumbled Dumbledore. So you decided to spring a trap for me. We decided to put the dark mark over the tower and get you to hurry up here to see who'd been killed, said Malfoy. And it worked. Well, yes and no, said Dumbledore. But I have to take it. Then, nobody has been murdered. Someone's dead, said Malfoy, and his voice seemed to go up an octave as he said it. One of your people. I don't know who. It was dark. I stepped over the body. I was supposed to be waiting up here when you got back. Only your phoenix slot got in the way. Yes, they do that, said Dumbledore. He was about to bang. There was a bang and shouts from below, louder than ever. It sounded as though people were fighting on the actual spiral staircase that led up to where Dumbledore, Malfoy, and Harry stood. And Harry's heart thundered unheard in his invisible chest. Someone was dead. Malfoy had stepped over the body, but who was it? There is little time, one way or another, said Dumbledore. So let us discuss your options, Draco. My options, said Malfoy loudly. I'm standing here with a wand. I'm about to kill you. My dear boy, let us have no more pretense about that. If you were going to kill me, you would have done it when you first disarmed me. You'd have not stopped for this pleasant chat about ways and means. I haven't got any options, said Malfoy, and he was suddenly white as Dumbledore. I've got to do it. He'll kill me. He'll kill my whole family. I appreciate the difficulty of your position. Why else do you think I have not confronted you before now? Because I knew that you would have been murdered if Lord Voldemort realized that I suspected you. Malfoy winced at the sound of the name. I did not dare speak with you of the mission with which I knew you had been entrusted, in case he used legilimency against you, continued Dumbledore. But now at last we can speak plainly with each other. No harm has been done. You've hurt nobody, though you are very lucky that your unintentional victims survived. I can help you, Draco. No, you can't, said Malfoy, his wand hand shaking very badly indeed. Ashley, hello, welcome in. Better late than never indeed. Nobody can. He told me to do it or he'll kill me. I've got no choice. Come over to the right side, Draco, and we can hide you more completely than you can possibly imagine. What is more, I can send members of the Order to your mother tonight to hide her likewise. Your father is safe at the moment in Azkaban. When the time comes, we can protect him too. Come over to the right side, Draco. You are not a killer. Malfoy stared at Dumbledore. But I got this far, didn't I? He said slowly. They thought I'd die in the attempt, but I'm here. You're in my power. I'm the one with the wand. You're at my mercy. No, Draco, said Dumbledore quietly. It is my mercy, not yours, that matters now. Malfoy did not speak. His mouth was open, and his wand hand still trembled. Harry thought he saw it drop by a fraction. But suddenly, footsteps were thundering up the stairs, and a second later, Malfoy was buffeted out of the way by 4 people in black robes, who burst through the door into the ramparts. Still paralyzed, his eyes staring unblinkingly, Harry gazed in terror upon 4 strangers. It seemed the Death Eaters had won the fight below. A lumpy-looking man with an odd, lopsided leer gave a wheezy giggle. Dumbledore cornered, he said, and he turned to a stocky little woman who looked as though she could be his sister, and who was grinning eagerly. Dumbledore warned us. Dumbledore alone. Well done, Draco. Well done. Good evening. Amicus, said Dumbledore calmly, as though welcoming a man to a tea party. And you brought Electo, too. Charming. The woman gave an angry little titter.
I think your jokes will help you on your deathbed, then,
she jeered. Jokes? No, these are manners, replied Dumbledore. Do it, said the stranger standing nearest to Harry, a big, rangy man with a mangy, matted grey beard and whiskers, whose black Death Eater robes looked uncomfortably tight. He had a voice like none Harry had ever heard, a raspy bark of a voice. Harry could smell a powerful mixture of dirt and sweat, and unmistakably blood coming from him. His filthy hands had long, yellowish nails. Is that you, Fenrir, asked Dumbledore. That's right, grasped the other. Pleased to see me, Dumbledore. No, I cannot say that I am. Greyback grinned, showing pointed teeth. Blood trickled down his chin as he licked his lips obscenely. But you know how much I like kids, Dumbledore. Am I to take it that you are attacking, even without the full moon now? That is most unusual. You've developed a taste for human flesh that cannot be satisfied once a month. That's right, said Fenrir Greyback. Shocks you, does it, Dumbledore? Frightens you? Well, I cannot pretend that it does not disgust me a little bit, said Dumbledore. And yes, I am a little shocked that Draco invited you, of all people here, into the school where his best friends live. I didn't, breathed Malfoy. He was not looking at Fenrir. He did not seem to want to even glance at him. I didn't know he was going to come. I wouldn't want to miss a trip to Hogwarts, Dumbledore, rasped Greyback. Not when there are throats to be ripped out. Delicious, delicious. He raised a yellow fingernail and picked at his front teeth, leering at Dumbledore. I can do yours after, Dumbledore. No, said the fourth Death Eater sharply. He had a heavy, brutal-looking face. We've got orders. Draco's got to do it. Now, Draco, and quickly. Malfoy was showing less resolution than ever. He looked terrified as he stared into Dumbledore's face, which was even paler and rather lower than usual. He had slid so far down the rampart wall. He's not long for this world anyway, if you ask me, said the lopsided man, to the accompaniment of his sister's wheezing giggles. Look at him. What's happened to you then, Dumpy? Oh, weaker resistance, slower reflexes. Amicus, said Dumbledore. Old age, in short. One day, perhaps, it will happen to you, if you are lucky. What's that mean, then? What's that mean? Yelled the Death Eater, suddenly violent. Always the same, weren't you, Dumpy? Talking, doing nothing. Why, the dark all bothering to kill you? Come on, Draco, do it! But at the moment there were renewed sounds of scuffling from below, and a voice shouted, They blocked the stairs! Reducto! Reducto! And his heart leapt. So these four had not eliminated all opposition, but they had merely broken through the fight to the top of the tower, and by the sound of it, created a barrier behind them. Now, Draco, quickly! Said the brutal-faced man angrily. But Malfoy's hand was shaking so badly that he could barely aim. Do it! Snarled Fenrir, moving towards Dumbledore with his hands outstretched, his teeth bare. I said no! Shouted the brutal-faced man. There was a flash of light, and the werewolf was blasted out of the way. He hit the ramparts and staggered, looking furious. And his heart was hammering, so hard it seemed impossible that nobody could hear him standing there. Imprisoned by Dumbledore's spell, if he could only move, if he could only aim a curse from under his cloak. Draco! Do it or stand aside! Oh no, hang on.
Draco! Do it or stand aside so one of us!
Screeched the woman, but at that precise moment the door to the ramparts burst open once more, and there stood Snape, his wand clutched in his hand, his black eyes swept the scene from Dumbledore, slumped against the wall, to the four Death Eaters, including the enraged werewolf and Malfoy. We got a problem, Snape, said Lumpy Amicus, whose eyes, wand were fixed upon Dumbledore. The boy doesn't seem able. But somebody else had spoken Snape's name quite softly. Severus! The sound frightened Harry before anything he had experienced all evening. For the first time, Dumbledore was pleading. Snape said nothing, but he walked forward and pushed Malfoy roughly out of the way. The three Death Eaters fell back without a word. Even the werewolf seemed cowed. Snape gazed for a moment at Dumbledore, and there was revulsion and hatred etched in the harsh lines of his face. Severus, please! Snape raised his wand and pointed it directly at Dumbledore. Avada Kedavra! A jet of green light shot from the end of Snape's wand and hit Dumbledore squarely in the chest. Harry's screams of horror never left him. Silent and unmoving, he was forced to watch as Dumbledore was blasted into the air. For a split second, he seemed to hang suspended beneath the shining skull, and then fell slowly backward, like a great rag doll, over the battlements and out of sight. Oi, and there ends the chapter. Oh, just in time for ads over on Twitch. Thank you, Frost, I appreciate you. Hello everyone, sorry, story time while I catch up on housework, that's alright. Always a sad part. Always a sad part. Thank you for the stretch, Marina, appreciate you for that. Oh! Absolutely legendary. Just dealing with something, landlord's down. That's alright, buddy. Seems like there's always a little bit of drama. Great chapter, Castle. Thank you, Esther. I appreciate you for that. Alright, let me get up and stretch for a moment, friends, and then do we want another chapter tonight? And we're going to do 2 songs. I already have the songs picked. Stephanie, thank you for the heart me. Ashley, thank you for the Deenies. And Lyoko, thank you for the high friend. Appreciate you. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. Lyoko, also thank you for the heart me and the dolphin. You guys' generosity is deeply appreciated. Cripes, I forgot how intense that part was. Oh, it really is. I can only imagine, Matty. It's always the worst. Alright, friends, let me get up. I'm gonna go check on the lady, and then we'll carry on. Alright? Yes, please, another chapter. Elsie requests Misty Mountain. Of course, Esther, of course. On the break, we're gonna do Spanish ladies, and then there was another request for the break as well. I don't remember quite what it was, but we're gonna do one more chapter. Give me 5 minutes to get up and stretch, and then we will be right back. All right, I have returned. What? No wonder it's so hot in here. Hang on. How did I do that? This is where I have to retire for the evening. Thank you for the lovely Ashley. Thank you kindly for tending bar over on TikTok. It is deeply appreciated. Head on off to bed. Thank you kindly for spending the time with us. I hope that you and Mateus are having a wonderful week, and I will see you back on Sunday for the ladies' story time. 3% more battery, and I can go check my appointment time. Hey, Castle, said Matty. Oh, you said hey because I said back down. Okay, that makes sense. Alright, let us continue. We're going to do 2 songs. We have Spanish Ladies, which was already pre-requested, and somebody else had another song that they had requested. I know Esther had requested Misty Mountains, but there was another one that was requested before that. Does anybody remember what it was? Save me, stuck for a bit longer. If I could, I would, Matty. If I could, I would. Hoist Up the Thing. Well, we did do Hoist Up the Thing last night. We can do it again. But I could have sworn that there was another one that was requested. But I guess we'll do Hoist Up the Thing, and then we'll do Spanish Ladies for Marina. And then we'll carry on with the next chapter. Let's see how long the next chapter is. 5 or 4. Oh yeah, the next chapter's not terribly long. We can get that done. Yeah. We're on good pace to finish on time tonight. Oh, it might have been Frost. Any which way, I'm happy to do it. Alright, so we'll do Hoist Up the Thing, and then we will do Spanish Ladies, and then we're going to do Chapter 28, Flight of the Prince. So we're gonna pause the music, and we're gonna sing together. Now, if you've never joined us for song here in the tavern, we sing shanties together. Now, we don't sing them well. We sing them to have fun. So if you know the lyrics, join in. If you don't know the lyrics, yeah, Esther had requested Misty Mountains, which we can do, but I thought that there was one that had been requested before Storytime, but I'm probably wrong. I'm probably misremembering. It's not a huge deal. That's all right though. So the castle have been slacking today, been cutting onions to make bread. No, you're all right, Bear. Everybody's being well behaved, and I'm glad that everybody's just relaxing and enjoying themselves. Okay. Fresh out of college with grades straight from hell, I browse for a trade at which I could excel, and add for a ship in need of some manning, men sails and purpose but lacking a captain. What luck, says I, to find such good fortune. A few white lies later I ran down the pier, bought me a coat and a cutlass or 2, jumped on the deck and I yelled at the crew. Hoist up the thing, bat down the what's it? What's that thing spinning? Somebody should stop it. Turn hard to port. That's not port, now I've got it. Trust me, I'm in control. I can't sing the shanties, it has to be said, and all of that grog, it goes right to me head. A whale meat is gross, and I miss a girl's laugh. 5 weeks at sea, and even Dave seems a catch. Hoist up the thing, batten down the what's it? What's that thing spinning? Somebody should stop it. Turn hard to port. That's not port, now I've got it. Trust me, I'm in control. We've hit icy waters, no land to be seen. The food's getting low and the beer has gone green. There's murmurs of discontent under the deck. If I don't act fast, it could be my neck. So pull up the charts and those weird gold machines. I've no clue what. I see what it says, but I've no clue what it means. Just pull on some levers and yank on some chains and feign a bad back till we've landed again. Hoist up the thing, batten down the what's it? What's that thing spinning? Somebody should stop it. Turn hard to port. That's not port. Now I've got it. Trust me, I'm in control. Oh, hoist up the thing, batten down the what's it? What's that thing spinning? Somebody should stop it. Turn hard to port. That's not port. Now I've got it. Trust me, I'm in control. Hoist up the thing, batten down the what's it? What's that thing spinning? Somebody should stop it. Turn hard to port. Is this jail? Now I've got it. Trust me, I'm in control. Ah, help me. Trust me, I'm in control. Ah. Castle, Elsie and I actually enjoy Hoist Up the Thing. I'm glad that you do, Esther. I'm glad that you do. I'm glad you enjoyed, Stephanie. Hey, Tyson. Hello, my friend. Good to see you. Welcome in. People love to start fights, Matty. People love to start fights and drama. All right, let's do Spanish Ladies from Marina. Marina, are you in? I know you're driving, so you don't have to put a whole message. I just want to make sure you're here. It's all right, Matty. It's all right. That is fun. I'm glad you enjoyed, Cristalla. All right, excellent. That's all right, Esther. Don't worry about it. You are A-okay. Yeah, we'll do the longest John version. All right. So this song is called Spanish Ladies. It's a very old shanty, but we're going to do the more recent version of it because I like the way it flows better. All right. Here we go. Farewell and adieu to you, Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu to you, ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail for old England. But we hope very soon we shall see you again. My filter. Hang on. I quoted about. Well, we'll get it. We don't need to get into religion because it's impossible for people to talk about religion in a non-nuanced sort of way. But in general, you can respect people's beliefs as long as people's beliefs are sensical. And if anybody is trying to force you to believe what they believe in any matter, whether it is social, political, or religious, that person is imbecilic, and you just shouldn't talk to them. And again, that goes across all ideologies. Most people are incapable of talking about what they believe from a rational standpoint, because belief requires there to be a certain suspension of disbelief, right? You have to suspend your doubts in a thing to believe a thing. And what usually ends up happening, sorry, just saying I respect it, but I think Christian rules should only apply to Christian people. And again, in general, something like that makes sense, but a Christian rule is thou shalt not murder. Should thou shalt not murder only apply to Christians? Matty? Spanish ladies, it's an. I'm gonna start the shanty over because I saw the conversation going on. I wanted to address it. I agree with you that people should not try to impose their beliefs on other people, but rules. There are certain rules that transcend religion. There are certain rules that are important. Right, and that's what I'm saying is like when you start categorizing like that, then you're saying that certain things should only apply to certain people, which is why again you just don't talk to people about what they believe if a person is unreasonable. If a person wants to talk about their beliefs with you to try and get you to believe what they want to believe, they're never going to be reasonable, and there's no point to ever talk to them about it because you cannot change somebody's mind who does not want to have their mind changed, regardless of what is rational or reasonable about it. That's all. So when people start talking to you about their religions, you can either religion or belief, whatever it is, whether it's social, political, religious, whatever it is. I do not discuss religion or politics. I'm unsure what happened to the show. Oh, I was just addressing the conversation that was going on. Matty's having a bit of drama with his landlord because his landlord is trying to evangelize to him forcibly. Uh, Battery light on, dash came on, but the truck it was driving fine. All I have to do is get to work tomorrow and look at it on Saturday. Yeah, please be safe, Tyson. I'd apologies. Just getting this weird religious moral thing in with my landlords. No, and it's all right, Matty. I don't mind having the discussion, but again, I try to keep religious and political and social discussions out of the chats just because people tend to not be able to stay level headed. I'm not saying you necessarily, but I'm saying that when it's brought up, people just tend to go off their rockers for it, and I try to avoid it because there's then I just have to start banning people, and it ends up bringing down everybody's experience. So it's fine to have this. I understand it's what you're going through. I'm not upset at you. I'm just addressing that when you are talking about it, and when you said something like Christian rules should only apply to Christians, you're just giving a kindle for the fire that could set off and just start fights with people. So I do agree with you. People should mind their business, but if there's one thing we know about people, they don't want to mind their business. People love to get in everybody else's business. It's one of the greatest flaws of humanity is that we love to be in each other's business. It's okay, Matty. I'm not upset, but the reason why we keep the political, social, and religious discussions out of the tavern is because most people cannot handle them in a responsible and leveled and mature way. So I just prefer that they stay out of the conversation entirely because I cannot trust everybody to stay level-headed and adult about it. So that's why we avoid them. And again, I'm not upset. I'm bringing us back down to the rule, which is we don't. You can talk about the problem you're having without making the declarations about what the thing is. Like it's more than acceptable to talk about the drama you're having. Don't bring in the ideology aspect of it. Is what I'm saying. You can continue to talk about the issue that you're having. Just keep the ideology out of it, if you don't mind. All right, I'll start the song over. Let's go. I agree, Castle. Thank you, Esther. Stephanie, I agreed. Yeah, it's just better for everyone. Again, like there are plenty of places online where people talk about these things. The tavern's just is never going to be one because I don't want to have to moderate those discussions, and that's me being lazy, more or less. I don't want to moderate those sort of intense discussions. I know it wasn't your intent, Matty. That's why I stopped and brought it up because that was going to be the unexpected consequence. That was going to be the unexpected consequence of what the discussion was leading towards. That's why I stopped and brought it up. So you're not in trouble. I'm not upset. That's why I stopped. I told you the lady and I were very frank. I'm never going to beat around the bush with these things. That's why we stopped the way that we did. All right, back to the song. We're going to start from the beginning again because that was too big of a gap between verses. Farewell and adieu to you, Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu to you, ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail for old England. But we hope very soon we shall see you again. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar all on the salt sea. until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. From Ushant to Scilly is 35 leagues. We hove our ship to, with wind at the southwest. We hove our ship to, our soundings to sea. We've rounded and sounded, got 45 fathoms. Then we squared our main yard, and up channel steered we. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar all on the salt seas, until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. From Ushant to Scilly is 35 leagues. The next land we made was called the Dead Man. The next ram went off Plymouth off. Hang on. The next land we made was called the Dead Man. Next ram head off Plymouth, off Portland the White. Then we sailed by Beachy, by Fairley, by Dungeness, till we came abreast of Southforeland Light. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar all on the salt seas, until we strike sounding in the channel of old England. From Ushant to Scilly is 35 leagues. Then the signal was made for the Grand Fleet to anchor, all in the Downs that night for to lie. Then it stands to your stoppers, steer clear your shank painters. Haul up your clew garnets, let tacks and sheet fly. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar all on the salt seas, until we strike sounding in the channel of old England. From Ushant to Scilly is 35 leagues. Let every man toss off a full bumper, and let every man drink up a full glass. We'll drink and be merry and drown melancholy, singing here's a good health to each true-hearted lass. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar all on the salt seas, until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. From Ushant to Scilly is 35 leagues. Thank you for the song, friends. Okay, appreciate it. Things like what I'm experiencing is one of the reasons why I'm moving to Athens. I've been looking for a temporary place to live, but it's not easy, and my dad may or may not be able to help, still waiting to hear back. The chorus of this song reminds me of... It is the exact same chorus, as a matter of fact, Milu. The exact same chorus. They are based off of the same shanty. I'm fading into sleep, but before this happens, I wish to tell you thanks to this tavern for the story time. It's a lovely place to spend the evenings. Kristalla, I'm glad you enjoyed yourself, and I hope that you spend a wonderful night in Dreamland. Jazz, raise the glass. Thank you for catching me, by the way. I care about the tavern, and like everyone's experience, like I've said, I care about it. And I know you do, Matty. And again, I know you weren't being malicious. I know you guys weren't trying to start anything. I've been on the internet long enough, I've done this long enough, to know exactly what arguments are going to strike up from what topics, which is why I just prefer to avoid them. Because you would be surprised what sets people off on the internet, and I don't believe in tiptoeing around, but there are certain arguments that just cannot end, because it's the rock and the hard place thing, right? It's an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. I figured it was just the tune is different and historically. So it's actually even the same tune, but it's at a different tempo. So this one, I believe, is I believe that this one is slower than the one by Great Big Sea. Yeah. Well, and that's what happens with shanties. So out of all of the shanties that exist, all of the traditional Irish shanties and ballad, there's only like 16 different tunes, I think. And the tunes are sped up or slowed down or rearranged, but it's all like they're all the same songs. Almost every Irish ballad and shanty that you know of, they're all the same songs, but they're just organized slightly different. And some of them are faster, some of them are slower, but they're pretty much all the same. So if you ever wanted to get into shanty writing or into ballad writing for Irish music, it's pretty easy to do. You just have to know those 16 tunes and then put song to music. Of course, Marina. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I did bump a few times on there, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. Castle, I've never heard of the song. Spanish Ladies or Rant and Roar. So Rant and Roar is a relatively new one. Spanish Ladies is a very old one. For some reason, that shanty made me think of Quint from Jaws. Interesting, Stephanie. That is an interesting place for the brain to go. I love how my brain now goes right to what about disarray? Matty, be patient. I got you. I got you, brother. Don't worry about it. All right, let's do one more. We'll do one more and then we'll head out. I think Bear had requested Got No Beard, and then I think Esther had requested Misty Mountain. Let's do Got No Beard at the end because that one's a little bit longer, and we'll do Misty Mountain here because Misty Mountain's a little bit faster. We usually do that one at the end, so we'll switch it up and we'll give Esther Misty Mountains right here. There's only 16 tunes because those who have written shanties, that's all they could remember. That's probably true, Tyson. That's probably true. Stephanie needs a bigger shanty. I see what you did there, Bear. I see what you did there. No, it's alright, mate. It's like I told you when I started helping you out with these things. I'll get to it when I have time, and if you poking me is not going to bug me. I have probably 15, 20 people who are constantly asking me for help, and I do what I can in my free time to help like young storytellers to go through the things. I also have clients who pay me to do the same thing, so I do what I can in the time that I have. So I'm never going to get upset by being poked, and when I have the time, I get to the things that I have the time for. That's I'm always very straightforward about that. Maybe Misty Mountain later in case it gets interrupted. No, we should be fine. We should be fine not to get interrupted, Esther. Maybe I can go check my appointment. Yeah, go ahead. And yeah, Bear, we're gonna do another chapter. Well, we are gonna do another chapter. Drifting, my friend, thank you for the story. And Shanti, ooh, Misty Mountain. Yeah, let's send Jazz to bed with Esther's Misty Mountain. Young storytellers, I must be an old storyteller. Well, you can be somebody who has lived for a very long time and just begun your journey as a storyteller. When I say young storytellers, I mean folks who are inexperienced in storytelling. Oh, you're a fairly seasoned storyteller, Esther. Even if it's just in photography, you seem to be a storyteller of sorts. Nah, don't worry about it, Maddie. I literally get hundreds of messages and emails a day. I'm completely numb to it. Need to head out. Thank you for the chat and the time. Of course, Jazz, rest well. I appreciate you for all that you do, and I'll see you for the next one. All right. I'm a sleepy storyteller. I think we're all pretty sleepy at this point, but we're getting there. All right, let's continue. We're gonna do the Peter Holland's version of Misty Mountain, and then we're gonna do the chapter 28 of Harry Potter, which is the second to last chapter of the book. So we will only have one more session with Harry Potter before we carry on. Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day, to find our long forgotten gold. The pines were roaring on the height. The winds were moaning in the night. The fire was red, it flaming spread. The trees like torches blazed with light. The wind was on the withered heath, but in the forest stirred no leaf. Their shadows lay, be night or day, and dark things silent crept beneath. The wind went on from west to east. All movement in the forest ceased, but shrill and harsh across the marsh, its whistling voices were released. Farewell we call to hearth and hall. The wind may blow and rain may fall, we must away ere break of day. Far o'er the wood and mountain tall, far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day, to find our long forgotten gold. All right. Thank you for the songs, my friends. Let us return to the world of Harry Potter. Thank you for Misty Mountcastle, always a perfect rendition. You flatter me deeply, Esther. I'm glad you and Elsie enjoyed. Good night, Jazz. Rest well. I hope you have wonderful dreams. Bear, I don't know if I answered you, but yeah, we're going to do another chapter tonight. Marina, you said I can't be. I would. You can be tired, but hopefully you're not sleepy since you're driving. All right, kids. Let's. All right. Let us return. Chapter 28. Flight of the Prince. Everything's looking fine for me, Milu. I don't know if anybody else is having problems. All of mine is looking fine for the moment. Yeah. We seem to be okay. I'm keeping you awake? Well, good. Cindy, you're most welcome. I'm glad that you were able to join us tonight. Okay, chapter 28. Flight of the Prince. Harry felt as though he too were hurtling through space. It had not happened. It could not have happened. Get out of here, quickly, said Snape. He seized Malfoy by the scruff of his neck and forced him through the door ahead of the rest. Greyback and the squat brother and sister followed the latter, both panting excitedly. As they vanished through the door, Harry realized he could move again. What was now holding him paralyzed against the wall was not magic, but horror and shock. He threw aside the invisibility cloak as the brutal-faced Death Eater, last to leave the tower, was disappearing through the door. Petrificus totalis! The Death Eater buckled as though hit in the back with something solid and fell to the ground, rigid as waxwork. He had barely hit the floor when Harry was clambering over him and running down the darkened staircase. Terror tore through Harry's heart. He had to get to Dumbledore. He had to catch Snape. Somehow the two things were linked. He could reverse what had happened if he had them both together. Dumbledore could not have died. He leapt the last 10 steps of the spiral staircase and stopped where he landed, his wand raised. The dimly lit corridor was full of dust. Half the ceiling seemed to have fallen in. A battle was raging before him, but even as he attempted to make out who was fighting, whom he heard a voice he hated. It's over. Time to go. And saw Snape disappearing around the corner at the far end of the corridor. He and Malfoy seemed to have forced their way through the fight unscathed. As Harry plunged after them, one of the fighters detached themselves from the fray and flew at him. It was the werewolf, Fenrir. He was on top of Harry before he could raise his wand, and he fell backwards, and the filthy matted hair on his face, the stench of sweat and blood filling his nose, and mouth, a hot, greedy breath at his throat. Petrificus totalis! Harry felt Fenrir collapse against him. A stupendous effort, he pushed the werewolf off and onto the floor. As a jet of green came flying toward him, he ducked and ran, head first into the fight. His feet met something squishy and slippery on the floor, and he stumbled. There were two bodies lying there, face down in a pool of blood. But there was no time to investigate. He now saw red hair flying like flames in front of him. Ginny was locked in combat with the lumpy Death Eater. Amicus, who was throwing hex after hex while she dodged them. Amicus was giggling, enjoying the sport. Crucia! Crucia! You can't dance forever, pretty! Impedimentia! Yelled Harry. The jinx hit Amicus in the chest. He gave a pig-like squeal of pain and was lifted off of his feet and slammed into the opposite wall and slid down it, and fell out of sight behind Ron. Professor McGonagall and Lupin, each of whom was battling a separate Death Eater. Beyond them, Harry saw Tonks fighting an enormous blonde wizard who was sending curses flying in all directions, so that they ricocheted off the walls around them, cracking stone and shattering the nearest window. Harry, where did you come from? Ginny cried, but there was no time to answer her. He put his head down and sprinted forward, narrowly avoiding a blast that erupted over his head, showering them all in bits of wall. Snape must not escape. He must catch up with Snape. Take that! Shouted Professor McGonagall, and Harry glimpsed a female Death Eater, Alecto, sprinting away down the corridor with her arms over her head, her brother right behind her. He launched himself after them, but his foot caught on something, and the next moment he was lying across someone's legs. Looking around, he saw Neville's pale, round, flat face against the floor. Neville, are you all right? Muttered Neville, who was clutching his stomach. Harry, Snape and Malfoy ran past. I know, I'm on it, said Harry, aiming a hex from the floor at the enormous blonde Death Eater who was causing most of the chaos. The man gave a howl of pain as the spell hit him in the face. He wheeled around, staggered, and then pounded away after the brother and sister. Harry scrambled up from the floor and began to sprint along the corridor, ignoring the bangs issuing from behind him, the yells of the others to come back, and the mute calls of the figures on the ground, whose fate he did not yet know. He skidded around the corner, his trainers slippery with blood. Snape had an immense head start. Was it possible he had already entered the cabinet in the room of requirement? Or had the Order made steps to secure it, to prevent the Death Eaters from retreating that way? He could hear nothing but his own pounding feet, his own hammering heart as he sprinted along the next empty corridor. But then he spotted the bloody footprint that showed at least one of the fleeing Death Eaters was heading straight to the front doors. Perhaps the room of requirement was indeed blocked. He skidded around the corner and a curse flew past him. He dived behind a suit of armor that exploded. He saw the brother and sister running down the marble staircase ahead and aimed the jinxes at them, but merely hit several bewigged witches in the portrait on the landing who ran screeching into neighboring paintings. As he leapt the wreckage of armor, Harry heard more shouts and screams. Other people within the castle seemed to have awoken. He pelted towards a shortcut, hoping to overtake the brother and sister and close in on Snape and Malfoy, who must have surely reached the grounds by now. Remembering to leap the vanished step halfway down the concealed staircase, he burst through a tapestry at the bottom, out into the corridor where a number of bewildered, pajama-clad Hufflepuffs stood. "Harry!" He heard a noise, and someone said something about the dark mark. We heard a noise, and someone said something about a dark mark," began Ernie Macmillan. "Out of my way!" yelled Harry, knocking two boys aside as he sprinted towards the landing and down the remainder of the marble staircase. The oak front doors had been blasted open, and there were smears of blood on the flagstones, and several terrified students stood huddled against the walls, one or two still cowering with their arms over their faces. The giant Gryffindor hourglass had been hit by a curse, and the rubies were still falling out with a loud rattle on the flagstones below. Harry flew across the entrance hall and out into the dark grounds. He could just make out three figures racing across the lawn, for the gates beyond which they could disapparate. By the looks of them, the huge blonde Death Eater, and some way ahead of him, Snape and Malfoy. The cold night air ripped at Harry's lungs as he tore after them. He saw a flash of light in the distance that momentarily silhouetted his quarry. He did not know what it was, but he continued to run. Not near enough yet to get a good aim with another curse. Another flash, shouts of retaliatory jets of light. Harry understood. Hagrid had emerged from his cabin and was trying to stop the Death Eaters escaping. Though every breath seemed to shred his lungs and stitch his chest like fire, Harry sped up as an unbidden voice in his head said, "Not Hagrid! Not Hagrid too!" Something caught Harry hard on the small of his back as he fell forward, his face smacking the ground and blood pouring out of his nostrils. He knew he had been rolled over, his wand ready. The brother and sister had overtaken using his shortcut, were closing in behind him. "Impedimentia!" he yelled and rolled over again, crouching close to the dark ground. Miraculously, his jinx hit one of them, who stumbled and fell, tripping over the other. Harry leapt to his feet and sprinted after Snape. He now saw the vast outline of Hagrid illuminated in the light by the crescent moon, revealed suddenly behind the clouds. The blonde Death Eater was aiming curse after curse at the gamekeeper, but Hagrid's immense strength and toughened skin he inherited from his giantess mother seemed to be protecting him. Snape and Malfoy, however, were still running. They could soon be beyond the gates, able to disapparate. Harry tore past Hagrid and his opponent, took aim at Snape's back and yelled, "Stupefy!" He missed, and the jet of red light soared past Snape's head. Snape shouted, "Run, Draco!" and turned. 20 yards ahead, he and Harry looked at each other. Before raising their wands simultaneously, "Crew!" But Snape parried the curse, knocking Harry backwards off his feet before he could complete it. Harry rolled over and scrambled back up again as a huge Death Eater behind him yelled, "Incendio!" Harry heard an explosive bang and a dancing of orange lights spilled all over them. Hagrid's house was on fire. "Find what's in there, you evil!" Hagrid bellowed. "Curse!" yelled Harry for the second time, aiming at the figure ahead illuminated in the dancing firelight. But Snape blocked the spell again. Harry could see him sneering. "No unforgivable curses from you, Potter," he shouted over the rushing of flames, Hagrid's yells, and the wild yelping that tracked Fang. "You haven't got the nerve or ability Incart! Harry roared, but Snape deflected the spell with an almost lazy flick of his arm. Fight back! Harry screamed at him. Fight back, you cowardly! Coward. Did you call me Potter? Shouted Snape. Your father would never attack me unless it was 4-on-1. What would you call him, I wonder? Stupid! Blocked again and again and again until you learn to keep your mouth shut and your mind closed, Potter. Sneered Snape, deflecting the curse once more. Now come. He shouted at the huge Death Eater behind Harry. It is time to be gone before the Ministry turns up. Impediment! But before he could finish his jinx, excruciating pain hit Harry. He kneeled on the grass. Someone was screaming. He would surely die of this agony. Snape was going to torture him to death or madness. No! Roared Snape's voice, and the pain stopped as suddenly as it had started. Harry lay curled on the grass, clutching his wand and panting. Somewhere overheard Snape was shouting, Have you forgotten your orders? Potter belongs to the Dark Lord. We are to leave him. Go! Go! And Harry felt the ground shudder under his face as the brother and sister and the enormous Death Eater obeyed, running towards the gates. Harry uttered an inarticulate yell of rage. In that instant, he cared not whether he lived or died. Pushing himself to his feet, he staggered blindly towards Snape, the man he now hated as much as he hated Voldemort himself. Sectum! Snape flicked his wand and the curse was repelled yet again, but Harry was mere feet away now, and he could see Snape's face clearly at last. He was no longer sneering or jeering. The blazing flames showed his face full of rage. Mustering all his powers of concentration, Harry thought, Levy! No, Potter! Screamed Snape, and a loud bang, and Harry was soaring backwards, hitting the ground hard again, and this time his wand flew out of his hand. He could hear Hagrid yelling and Fang howling as Snape closed in and looked down at him where he lay, wandless and defenseless, as Dumbledore had been. Snape's pale face, illuminated by the flaming cavern, was suffused with hatred just as it had been before he had cursed Dumbledore. You dare use my own spells against me, Potter. I was the one who invented them. I, the half-blood prince. And you turn my invention on me like your filthy father, would you? I don't think so. No! Harry dived for his wand. Snape shot a hex at it, and it flew away into the darkness and out of sight. Kill me, then! Panted Harry, who felt no fear at all, but only rage and contempt. Kill me! Like you killed him, you coward! Don't! Screamed Snape, and his face was suddenly demented, inhuman, as though he was in as much pain as the yelping, howling dogs stuck in the burning house behind him. Call me a coward! And he slashed the air. Harry felt a hot, white, whip-like something hit him across the face, and was slammed backwards into the ground. Spots of light burst in front of his eyes, and for a moment, all the breath seemed to have gone from his body. Then he heard a rush of wings above him. Something enormous obscured the stars. Buckbeak had flown at Snape, who was staggering backwards with razor-sharp claws slashed at him. As Harry raised himself into a sitting position, his head was swimming from his last contact with the ground. He saw Snape running as hard as he could, the enormous beast flapping behind him and screeching as Harry had never heard him screech. Harry struggled to his feet, looking around groggily for his wand, hoping to give chase again. But even as his fingers fumbled in the grass, discarding twigs, he knew it would be too late. And sure enough, by the time he located his wand, he turned to see the hippogriff circling the gates. Snape had managed to disapparate, just beyond the school's boundaries. Hagrid! Muttered Harry, still dazed, looking around. Hagrid! He stumbled toward the burning house as an enormous figure emerged from out of the flames, carrying Fang on its back. With a cry of thankfulness, Harry sank to his knees. He was shaking in every limb, his body ached all over, and his breath came in painful stabs. You all right, Harry? You all right? Speak to me, Harry! Hagrid's huge, hairy face was swimming above Harry. Blocking out the stars, Harry could smell burnt wood and dog hair. He put out a hand and felt Fang's reassuringly warm and alive body quivering beside him. "I'm all right," panted Harry. "Are you?" "Course! Take more than that to finish me." Hagrid put his hand under Harry's arms and raised him up with such force that Harry's feet momentarily left the ground before Hagrid set him upright again. He could see blood trickling down Hagrid's cheek from a deep cut under one eye, which was swelling rapidly. "We should put out your house," said Harry. "The charm's augmenti." "No, something like that," mumbled Hagrid, and he raised his smouldering pink flowery umbrella and said, "Augmente." A jet of water flew out of the umbrella tip. Harry raised his wand arm, which felt like lead, and murmured, "Augmenti," too. Together he and Hagrid poured water on the house until the last flame was extinguished. "It's not so bad," said Hagrid hopefully a few minutes later, looking at the smoking wreck. "Nothing Dumbledore won't be able to put right." Harry felt a searing pain in his stomach at the sound of the name. In the silence and stillness, horror rose inside of him. "Hagrid." "I was binding a couple of bowtruckle legs when I heard 'em coming," said Hagrid sadly, still staring at the wreck cabin. "They've all been burnt to twigs, poor little things."
"Hagrid."
"What happened, Harry? I just saw them Death Eaters running down from the castle." "But what bloody hell was Snape doing with him? Where's it going? Was it chasing him?"
Harry cleared his throat. It was dry from panic and smoke. "Hagrid, he killed."
"Killed?" said Hagrid loudly, staring down at Harry. "Snape killed? What are you on about, Harry?"
"Dumbledore," said Harry. "Snape killed Dumbledore."
Hagrid simply looked at him, little of his face that could be seen, completely blank, uncomprehending. "Dumbledore what, Harry?"
"He's dead. Snape killed him."
"Don't say that," said Hagrid roughly. "Snape killed Dumbledore? Don't be stupid, Harry. What's made you say that?"
"I saw it happen."
"You couldn't have."
"I saw it, Hagrid."
Hagrid shook his head. His expression was disbelieving but sympathetic, and Harry knew that Hagrid thought he had sustained a blow to the head, that he was confused, perhaps, by after effects of a jinx. "What must have happened was, Dumbledore must have told Snape to go with them Death Eaters," Hagrid said confidently. "I suppose he's got to keep his cover. Look, let's just get you back up to the school. Come on, Harry." Harry did not attempt to argue or explain. He was still shaking uncontrollably. Hagrid would find out soon enough, too soon, as they directed their steps back towards the castle. Harry saw that many of its windows were now lit. He could imagine clearly the scenes inside as people moved from room to room, telling each other that Death Eaters had got in, that the mark was shining over Hogwarts, that somebody must have been killed. The oak front doors stood open ahead of him, light flooding in and out onto the drive and lawn. Slowly, uncertainly, dressing-gowned people were creeping down the steps, looking around nervously for some sign of Death Eaters, who had fled into the night. Harry's eyes, however, were fixed upon the ground at the foot of the tallest tower. He imagined that he could see a black, huddled mass lying there in the grass, though he was really too far away to see anything of the sort. Even as he stared wordlessly at the place where he thought Dumbledore's body must lie. However, he saw people beginning to move toward it. "Good night, Lyoko, rest well." "Joker, hello, good to see you." I glazed over it, Matty. I haven't had a chance to go over it completely yet, though. Won't worry, thank you for the Deanies. Appreciated. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. I found... I'm not up on the conversation, so... Oh, going with the house hunting, I found something like that. I just have to get pre-approved for them. Spectacular, Marina. That's good news. Oh, looks like the ads are about to start. So we'll stop here for a second and we'll run ads for Twitch. And then we'll carry on to the end of the chapter, which we've only got a few more pages of. Oh, just another beautiful night in paradise, Joker. How are you? No rush since I'm deep in book 1 still. Book 2 somewhat soon. It's all very exciting. It's all very exciting, Matty. So we have, let's see, we're on 13. We only have 2 pages left. And then we'll be at the end. And people are dropping quickly, so we better hurry up so everyone can get to the end of the chapter. Too bad I can't keep reading. You can't keep reading for another 4 hours. That's how long I have to drive. That's dreadful, Marina. Though there are weeks and weeks of VODs. I'm not wide awake. You shouldn't be, Milo. It's 1 o'clock in the morning for you. You should be getting ready for bed. My day was pretty good today. Didn't do too much. Well, nice lazy days. Is good every now and again. Can't get mad at that. There was something in book 2 with Sunriel I have to explain in book 1 a bit. Well, that's alright, as long as it doesn't rely too much on a previous book. I may need to go watch a sleep hypnosis meditation thing. Oh, I'm in bed, you're just not ready to go to sleep. Or did you do something earlier in the day that put you off? Did you drink too much caffeine or take a nap or something? If the lady takes a nap midday, she'll be up all night. She just can't do it. Of course, Mary Beth, of course. We've got two more chapters left. I've got 1 minute left on the ads over on Twitch, and then we're gonna finish up. PJs, blankets, teeth brush, face wash. Oh, darn, my brain is just busy. I've been going since 7 a.m. You should be well and ready to sleep then. But your brain just doesn't want to let you. You know what? It happens sometimes, you know. The lady and I will have a very, very good day of work, and then we'll start talking about something just before bed, and then neither one of us wants to go to sleep. It is the conundrum of the human mind, isn't it? You'll be tired as all get out, and then you'll think of something just before you're supposed to go to sleep, and then your brain's like, we're gonna think about this for the next 4 to 5 hours. But tomorrow is chemo. I never sleep well before it, or after when the steroids kick in. Oh, I see. Yeah, well, when anticipation does do that. When you're anticipating a thing. You did make it to the end, Frost. I figured you had fallen asleep since you'd been a little bit quiet, but I'm glad you made it to the end. This is my last late night. Vacation is almost over. Time to get my sleep pattern adjusted. Well, Mary Beth, it's good news because we're actually going to be moving story time earlier in the day, starting next week. So, and that's quite all right, Frost. It's quite all right. I'm glad you had the energy to stick it out with us. Yeah, I'm a night owl too, but the lady and I have to change that because of the work that we have to be doing coming, you know, in the coming year, this year, the rest of this year and next year. We have to be able to get up early, and we tend to be up very late. Sometimes we work till 4 to 5 in the morning, and that's just, it's not doable with what we have coming up. So I've got to adjust it. Let's just say I put something into my story Bible that lets me have a character change their power, so to speak. Interesting. My body will be exhausted and my brain will think, I wonder how the roads could be different color to help prevent the heat from the asphalt. Which is a fair enough thought, if we're being honest. There will be nights that I'm exhausted, so I'll crawl into bed as soon as my head hits the pillow. I get my second wind and just lay there awake for hours. It is the worst, Tyson. It is a conundrum of being human today. Me totally not guilty of messaging on at 3 a.m. Ads are done. Thank you, Frost. I appreciate you. Alright, let's finish. What are they all looking at? Said Hagrid as he and Harry approached the castle front. Fang keeping as close as he could to their ankles. "Was that lying on the grass?" said Hagrid, adding sharply, heading towards the foot of the astronomy tower, where a small crowd was congregating. "See it, Harry? Right at the foot of the tower. Under where the mark? Blimey! You don't think someone got thrown?" Hagrid fell silent. The thought apparently too horrible to express aloud. Harry walked alongside him, feeling the aches and pains in his face and his legs, where the various hexes of the last half hour had hit him, though in an oddly detached way, as though somebody near him was suffering them. What was real and inescapable was the awful pressing feeling in his chest. He and Hagrid moved dreamlike through the murmuring crowd to the very front, where the dumbstruck students and teachers left a gap. Harry heard Hagrid's moan of pain and shock, but he did not stop. He walked slowly forward until he reached the place where Dumbledore lay, crouched beside him. He had known there was no hope from the moment that the full body bind curse Dumbledore placed upon him lifted. Known that it could only have happened because the caster was dead. But there was still no preparation for seeing him there, spread-eagled, broken, the greatest wizard Harry had ever known, or ever would, meet. Dumbledore's eyes were closed, but for a strange angle of his arms and legs, he might have been sleeping. Harry reached out and straightened the half-moon spectacles on his crooked nose, and wiped the blood from his mouth with his sleeve. Then he gazed down at the wise old face, and tried to absorb the enormous and incomprehensible truth that never again would Dumbledore speak to him. Never again could he help. The crowd murmured behind Harry. After what seemed like a long time, he became aware that he was kneeling upon something hard, and looked down. The locket they had managed to steal so many hours before had fallen out of Dumbledore's pocket. It had opened, perhaps due to the force of which it had hit the ground. And although he could not feel more shock or horror or sadness than he already felt, Harry knew, as he had picked it up, that there was something wrong. He turned the locket over in his hands. This was neither as large as the locket he remembered seeing in the pensieve, nor were there any markings on it, no sign of the ornate S that was supposed to be Slytherin's mark. Moreover, there was nothing inside but a scrap of folded parchment. Wedged tightly into place where a portrait should have been. Automatically, without really thinking about what he was doing, Harry pulled out the fragment of parchment, opened it, and read it by the light of many wands that had now been lit behind him.
To the Dark Lord, I know I will be dead long before you read this, but I want you to know that it was I who discovered your secret. I have stolen the real Horcrux and intend to destroy it as soon as I can. I face death in the hope that when you meet your match, you will be mortal once more. Signed R.A.B.
Harry neither knew nor cared what the message meant. Only one thing mattered. This was not a Horcrux. Dumbledore had weakened himself by drinking that terrible potion for nothing. Harry crumpled the parchment in his hand, and his eyes burned with tears as behind him Fang began to howl. And that, my friends, is the end of chapter 28 of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. We're damn near the end. I think this is either the last chapter or the second to last chapter. I think there's... yeah, we have 2 more chapters left. We have 2 chapters left, which means that if we really buckle down, our last Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince reading will be this coming Thursday. That'll be a hell of a thing. I need to get to bed so I can be ready for work in the morning, Castle. Thank you for everything. Rest well, my Tavern family. Rest well, Frost. I'm glad you made it to the end, brother. Sleep well, and we'll speak again soon, all right? I forgot that part. That's sad and angering, isn't it? Though it's one of the more frustrating bits from the story. But instead of hunkering down, waffles. Well, we're adding in a waffle day. That's what it's the before Sunday before the lady gets on. I'll be waffling with you all. Kazu, thank you for the wonderful storytelling and shanties. Rest well. Thank you, Esther. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Waffles are. I prefer waffles to pancakes. If I'm being honest, I don't really eat that much bread, just because I don't. I don't really care for bread, except for like pastries. Sweet bread, I'll do a little bit of. Best Harry Potter audio ever. Oh, you flatter me, Melina. I'm glad you still enjoy after all this time. Uh, it's hard to believe how long some of you have been here. Like Milu just hit 10 months on her Prime subscription over on Twitch. It's crazy to think how long some of you have been here. Many waffles are better; they're crispier on the edges. I would agree. I would agree, unless you got like a really like well-made Belgian waffle with like fresh fruit and whipped cream and maybe a little bit of syrup on it. Waffles and bacon, yeah, waffles and bacon is a classic. Uh, I do not consume much bread, biscuits, or waffles. Yeah, I don't really either. Although, like again, if it was waffles versus pancakes, I would go waffles every time. Been here a while. First on Facebook, then migrated here. I'm at 8 months on Twitch, but over 2 years overall. Yeah, it's crazy to think how long it's been. Yeah, no, I just mean like it's insane to think how long you guys have, some of you have been here. Because I know for most of you it's well over a year. I know that Tyson's been here for quite a while, 2 years at least. Yeah, Maddie, you've probably been here about a year and a half, maybe a little bit less than a year and a half. Pancakes and maple syrup is nice. If you've got to have pancakes, it better have maple syrup on it. That's for sure. It's been closer to a year and a half of following, but it was low reels. And there are a bunch of folk who, like, I know that Lyoko, who's not with us right now, and came in, started with the lore story times, where I would put up a topic behind me, and people would ask me questions about it, and we'd talk about different lores and mythologies. Yeah, well over a year for Esther and Johnny. I think most of you probably came in during uh, lore and story reels and whatnot. Casino the Tavern managed to be the very reason I'm this close to finishing my book. My one book of many, and they're very thankful for that. Ah, that's all you, Matty. That's all you. I only need the live. I only. I only knew the lives from the readathon. Right. TikTok is lagging, is it? That's not surprising. The TikTok thing, the TikTok software is pain in the butt. But you still had to pick them up and use them, Matty. That's what I always say. Like it's all right to appreciate the people who mentor you. You should do that. You should respect those who come before you. But you also have to make sure you don't give other people too much credit for what you managed to do yourself. Because you still have to pick up the tools and do the thing. Yep, the background is different. I should have this background over on TikTok, but I don't. Found the Tavern on Facebook, started lives on YouTube, and then migrated here to Twitch. You've sort of been all over, Tyson. I think the only place you probably haven't been is TikTok. I did. I'm a sponge for learning the craft, as you ought to be. Thank you, Esther. Yeah, the lady does a very good job with these. Though it is this. Wait, hang on. Where am I? It is sad because this is like, oh, I'm backwards. This is the scene that leads to Dumbledore's demise. So it's unfortunate. All right. It seriously only feels like a couple of months. I feel like I'm still new. It, It for Christie's been here for a year at least. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is odd because for some of you it feels like we've only known each other for a little bit, but it also feels like it's been forever for me. Like it feels like I've known most of you for a while, coming in and being a part of the tavern, and it's nice. I enjoy it. I enjoy having a good rowdy bunch in the tavern. That's why I say the tavern is immortalized in my book as a dedication in every book. I don't know how long I've been here. I've always been here. Kemians, you've been with me for a while because you were definitely here for the lore streams. I remember that you were here for the lore story times over on TikTok, and you've been commenting on my lore videos for a long time. So I'd imagine it's at least 2 years. It might be longer. You warm my heart, Matty. I'm glad that we've created a space that fosters that. I agree, Bear. They mean a lot to me too. Alright, let's sing Got No Beard for Bear and then I'll send you all off out into the world. I forgot to put the music back on. You very well might be an OG, Kemian. It's entirely possible. People wise agreed feels longer, but coming to the lives feels like, yeah, I mean, like it feels like we've all known each other for a very long time, but it feels like we've only been doing the story times for a little bit. Which, when you think about it, we've gone through all of the Lord of the Rings books. We've gone through Inkheart, we did Phantom Toll Booth, and we did there was another one. And then we did all of the. We're almost done with the Harry Potter series. I never felt so at home, and I've never felt so grateful to you and Una. Feel indebted to you guys in a way. Well, I'm just glad that you enjoy yourself, Matty. That is what I aimed. Old gits. That's you and I both, Bear. Both of us are old gits. That's for sure. We were thinking about doing something like that because there's a tradition in our family about marking foundations. So for the people who build a house, the names are inscribed on the foundation. So we've considered doing something like that. I haven't read Inkheart since I was a teen. Yeah, it's great, and that was one of the books that we did. We made it all the way through Inkheart. I'm trying to think of what other adult books we did because we did all of the Rift War saga and we did all of the Lord of the Rings books all the way up to the end. Yeah, it's been a wild journey. We did not do the sequel. As a matter of fact, the Inkheart, we did Inkheart, and a lot of people didn't know that Inkheart had a sequel. So when the vote came up over in the guild, we put Inkspell in, and because we hadn't done Harry Potter yet, Harry Potter also got put on, and Harry Potter won out. And Harry Potter's been winning out ever since then. I mean, I refuse to cut the Tavern's cameos in the actual story too. Well, only if it works, Matty. Love that tradition. We're planning on it with our property up north if we can ever get the foundation poured. It's a hell of a thing, and I believe that symbolic stuff like that is very important. I also would have picked, yeah, everybody, like, we just did the final vote for book 7, and Aragon is on there, and Aragon and Golden Compass have been on the vote list for a very long time too. And Aragon, I think, got 30% of the vote, but the vast majority of everybody else voted for Harry Potter. So it was not even a competition. I want Inkspell, but I want the end of Harry Potter first. Right? Teresa started on TikTok, then Tube of You, Book of Faces, and here. Been some time. Yeah, Teresa, you've been in for a while too. We should reread Phantom Tollbooth. That was good. You know what's fun? I've got a bunch of stuff sitting on it, but I have Phantom Tollbooth actually sitting on the desk here, right next to me. Dyson. In Betty's story, there's a passing mention. In Tegeta's coming story, it's pretty much visits the tavern as a part of her story. Interesting. Interesting. I've been living for the sneak peeks of the HBO series. I really enjoyed the chapter of Phantom Tollbooth I caught. Phantom Tollbooth is a spectacular book. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you enjoy books, if you enjoy reading, Phantom Tollbooth is a spectacular read. There's no reason at any age that you shouldn't read Phantom Tollbooth. It is a wonderful book. Wonderful book, wonderful story. For any, I'd say if you're over the age of like 8 or all the way up into dead, you should read Phantom Tollbooth. It's a spectacular book. Can you reread submissions from the tavern members? Oh, that's right. We were gonna read Frost's story tonight. I forgot. But Frost already went to bed. We'll do it. We'll do it on. I'll do it on Sunday because we're doing our first ramble, a rant and ramble on Sunday. So we'll do it on Sunday. Oh, speaking of which, that's actually a good point. Thank you, Bilu. We're going to start the tavern short story competitions again. So for anybody who would like to take part in that, I think probably the first of next month, I will be putting out a prompt. There will be we'll probably do the entire month. So it will take 2 weeks for the writing, and then we'll take 1 week for me to determine who the winner is. Or we'll take 1 week for the voting, and then the last week we'll read whoever the winner is on stream. Yeah, I do too. I do too. I just pass the castle's jewelry and gifts, and I don't even get new royalties from it, Marina. I don't want to sound dramatic or look like a sad sack, but stuff is getting worse, not better. What, I missed part of this conversation. Hang on. Well, if we have to strap you to a crate and bring you over here, Bear, we'll do it. We'll just strap you down with a nice fluffy crate and ship you over so that you're all well and good. Depending on the prompt, I might set it in my stories universe. Depending on the prompt, we'll to see what comes up. The lady and I will be talking about that tonight. Actually, after we're done here. All right, let's do this. We're gonna sing "Got No Beard" and then we're going to over on Twitch. We'll raid out to share the love, and everywhere else I'll send you off out into the world. So here we go. I once met a man who said he was a fan and he wanted to sing in my shanty band, but the bottom of his face looked so weird. There was skin on his chin that I loathed and feared. From his crown to his ear he was most sincere, but you can't sing the shanties if you've got no beard. Got no beard, got no beard, can't sing the shanties if you've got no beard. Got no beard, got no beard, you can't sing the shanties if you've got no beard. I once met a girl who heard sea songs. She came to the show and she sang along. But the timing of the shout was so slow. She was graced with a face like a morning glow, but the holler was a blow from the very front row. Said you can't sing the shanties if you can't shout ho. You can't shout ho, you can't shout ho, you can't sing the shanties if you can't shout ho. Can't shout ho, you can't shout ho, you can't sing the shanties if you can't shout ho. And you've got no beard. Excellent, Bear. We'll probably raid out to her then. I once met a man on a weird machine, had wheels and a bell, but no mast to be seen. He was shouting from a pad of notes, no notes, and the wheels got caught on his overcoat, and he fell from the pier clawing at his throat, and you can't sing the shanties if you don't own a boat. Don't own a boat, don't own a boat, you can't sing the shanties if you don't own a boat. Don't own a boat, you don't own a boat, you can't sing the shanties if you don't own a boat. And you can't shout ho, and you've got no beard. I once met a bloke on a tavern floor. He'd had 10 beers and I'd had 10 more. And his piggy little face was so pink, He tried to shout the words, but they were out of sync. With a voice so bad it'll make you think that you can't sing the shanties if you can't hold your drink. Can't hold your drink, you can't hold your drink. You can't sing the shanties if you can't hold your drink. Can't hold your drink, you can't hold your drink. You can't sing the shanties if you can't hold your drink. And you don't own a boat, and you can't shout ho, and you've got no beard. I once met a sailor, all big and broad, with a eye-patched parrot and a long curved sword. He had a chest like a powder keg, big chest. He had both his shoes, and he smelled like eggs. I expect he would look better with a wooden peg, 'cause you can't sing the shanty if you've got two legs. Got two legs, you've got two legs. You can't sing the shanties if you've got two legs. Got two legs, you've got two legs. Can't sing the shanties if you've got two legs, and you can't hold your drink, and you don't own a boat, and you can't shout ho, and you've got no beard. Well, Leonard's got no beard, and Dave has a bike. Robbie's father-in-law owns a boat, but he won't sing on the mic. And JD can't shout ho, and his wife takes much offense. And Andy's got two beautiful hairy legs. But there's no good reason not to join us, so sing along for the very last chorus. 2, 3, 4, got no beard, you've got no beard. Can't sing the shanty if you've got no beard. Got no beard, you've got no beard. Can't sing the shanties if you've got no beard. You got no beard, you got no beard. Can't sing the shanty if you've got no beard. Got no beard, you've got no beard. You can't sing the shanties if you've got no beard. And you've got two legs, and you can't hold your drink. And you don't own a boat, and you can't shout ho. And you've got no beard. What a wonderful and weird way to end the evening. Castle, I forgot to message you and Una. My son wants to send you both a bookmark he has made. Wonderful, Milo. That's so very kind. I can barely write a story, and I literally struggle to get together stories with my middle about a blue bunny exploring life for my kids before bedtime. Well, that's all right. You can be a storyteller without having to write stories, right? It's all about just loving and keeping the stories. Awesome. Fiend. I don't know why I call you Fiend. Joker. Thank you, my friend. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. Hope you enjoyed your time, as always, and I will look forward to seeing you again during the next story time, and I'll see you in the comments, my friend. Elsie and I, well, we don't have a beard. Oh, well, Elsie probably has a little bit of a beard. Maybe not a good beard, but a little bit of one. All right, my friends, I appreciate you all for the time that you've spent with me this fine, fair evening in the tavern. Thank you to everyone who has liked and shared the stories as they were going along. And for everybody who's been supporting the stories that the lady and I do otherwise, you guys have been incredibly supportive, and it has been doing wonders for the tavern's growth, and we appreciate you guys for that. We're about to hit 100,000 tavern patrons over on Facebook, and that's amazing. Like, I don't normally check those things, but we've had quite a bit of people popping in. I just realized that we're about to hit 100,000 people over on the Facebook door, so that means the world. Heather Corby, speaking of the Facebook door, welcome in. You're coming in right at the end, but I'm so glad that you joined us. Thank you kindly. And to everyone who is gifted or who cheered or tipped or who resubscribed, thank you all so much for your contributions. It means the world to the lady and I. Lady dog and a beard. And a beardless. Right there, it's insane how many of you there are, and the lady and I are incredibly grateful for it. We're very, very grateful for all of the love and support that the tavern has gotten. Even the grumpy folk who have helped us to grow. So we do. I just got a YouTube notification from you. YouTube is weird with its notifications. They're just ridiculous. Guten Nacht, mein Bruder. Guten Nacht, Tyson. I hope you have a wonderful night, my friends. Thank you all so much. It is sad that the doors have to close, but they will open again, as we know they do. Your support is absolutely appreciated, Esther. I love you for it, and I appreciate you. And thank you to all of our wonderful barkeeps for keeping everybody safe and comfortable during the night. Good night, Cindy. Rest well. All right, my friends. The doors must close, and that is sad. But they will open again the next time you seek a story. So until then, my friends, I will bid you all stay bloodthirsty, and we will see you next time. Good night.
to sexuality and sensory issues. You're so valid for, like, no shame at all around that topic. I think I'm gonna err on the safe side and say not for in the chat, just because I don't know exactly where that's gonna go, but no judgment about wanting to talk about it. So, if that's okay. Welcome in, Raiders. Black Dragon, hello, hello. Everyone wore them in Idiocracy because they're ugly and insanely cheap. Black Dragon, welcome. Hi, Camians. Hello, hello.